Chapter 1226. Nine Calamities was the strongest of the three dark marshals of the underworld, followed by Qi He and Fei Yan. However, the dark men under Fei Yan's command were extremely powerful, while Qi He was the weakest. It was said that even if these two dark marshals joined forces, they still wouldn't be a match for Nine Calamities. At this critical juncture, why did the Nine Calamities underworld marshal suddenly want to invite the true devil sect master and Qi He to a banquet? What was he going to do? The immortals were about to attack, and the underworld was in danger. Didn't they have any sense of crisis? Suyin did not know. What he knew was that the two of them had actually agreed to it. Moreover, they kept the appointment on time and headed straight for the Nine Calamities tribe. The other party did not invite Suyin, and Suyin was too lazy to participate in the banquet. Since the sect master was responsible for everything, he only needed to do his own thing. The devil dwellers of the true devil realm were all arranged by Qi He to stay behind these tribes. The places where the devil dwellers lived were also like the underworld dwellers. They had established tribes of various sizes. At first glance, it was truly spectacular. It was as dark as the Black Sea. Suyin found the elders of the true devil sect, gave them some instructions, and then left alone, finding a corner to cultivate in. In the war between the immortal realm, the demon realm, and the underworld, he alone could not change anything. He could only do his best to do what he had to do. The key to this battle was actually the Imperial Darksword. Although there were 5 days, it was a very short period of time. Suyin sat in the encampment of the devil realm for an entire day, harmonizing his own qi, and then started to stroll around. After the true devil sect leader and the Qi River Dark Marshal attended the banquet, they did not return. Suyin did not know what kind of banquet would last for an entire day, but he could not investigate anything. The true devil sect had done him a great favor. His actions this time were not for the true devil realm, but for the true devil sect. After leaving the tribe, he followed a small path outside and walked blindly. Actually, putting aside the battle this time, Suyin was still very interested in the underworld. So many experts from the myriad realms had abandoned their glory and power to come here to be an ordinary underworld dweller. Was it really just because the death aura here could help them better cultivate and break through? Other than the aura of death, was there nothing else in the netherworld that could attract them? Suyin did not know. He had just entered the underworld and was unable to ask too many questions about the underworld. But as he walked, Suyin suddenly thought of something and immediately patted the sword sheath behind him and whispered, Qingyu, Qingyu, are you there? What happened? Ling Qingyu's tired voice came out from the sword sheath. Hearing that, Suyin was shocked and immediately asked, Qingyu, what's wrong? You look very tired? It's nothing. It's just that I made some mistakes in my cultivation. I'll be fine after some rest. Ling Qingyu said slowly. If that's the case, if you need my help with anything, you must tell me. Suyin said. What do I need your help with? But Suyin, since when did you become so concerned about me? Ling Qingyu snorted lightly. When did I not care about you? Suyin said subconsciously, but just as he said it, he realized that it was a little ambiguous. As expected, Ling Qingyu immediately became silent. After an unknown period of time, her voice came out. Why are you looking for me? How's Qing'er? There's still no movement. She took longer to transform than I thought. Oh, Suyin was a little disappointed, but he was also worried in his heart. It had been so long. Was Qing'er really transforming now? Could something have happened to her? He organized his thoughts, threw away the worries in his heart, and asked again, then, Qingyu, do you understand the underworld? Underworld? Hearing that, Ling Qingyu was startled for a moment. Not long after, a ray of light shot out from the sword sheath and landed beside Suyin. Very quickly, the light transformed into a beautiful young lady. It was Ling Qingyu. Ling Qingyu looked around, her cute little nose slightly wrinkled, and said, This is indeed the underworld. The death aura is so dense. Qingyu, do you know anything about the underworld? Suyin asked. I don't know much about the underworld, but I know that it is a place where the peak experts from all over the world gather. Many famous seniors are also hiding in this place, concentrating on cultivation. It is said that the special environment here is helpful for those who have reached a bottleneck in their cultivation to break through. Ling Qing, you said. Oh, is that so? Other than the death aura, is there anything else here that can help you break through? Su Yun asked. Yes, there's a lot. Ling Qing, you smiled, then said, follow me. Su Yun nodded and followed Ling Qing you forward. At the end of the road, there was an incomparably huge barren mountain. There was nothing on the mountain, only dark yellow sand and boulders. Ling Qing, you carefully stepped onto the mountain road and climbed over. She did not dare to urge her qi, and Su Yun did not dare either. If not, all of her immortal qi would be used up. Su Yun, you should also know that using the immortal qi here is very easy to be combined with the death aura, causing the immortal qi to instantly disappear. Actually, this is a test given to those who have just entered the underworld. If anyone can use the immortal qi as they please in the underworld, then that person can truly become a person of the underworld, and only then can they survive in the underworld. In fact, there are many people in the underworld who have not reached this standard, and many existences are unable to use the immortal qi as they please, which is one of their weaknesses. Qing Yu, according to what you said, doesn't that mean that both the 5 underworld generals and the 3 underworld commanders can do it? Of course. Ling Qing, you said seriously. The 5 underworld generals and the 3 underworld commanders are all supreme experts of the world. Although you have obtained a lot of luck, I can clearly tell you that with your cultivation, if you were to face them in the underworld, I'm afraid you wouldn't even be able to last 1 round. So strong? Su Yun was shocked. I remember that you went to the Wanhua realm before and saw the Imperial Sword, right? Ling Qing, you asked. Yes. Su Yun nodded. You seem to have fought with him before. It can't be considered a fight. It's just a clash. Su Yun frowned. I feel that there is still a gap between the Imperial Sword and the Vice President of the Immortal Court. He is unable to give me that kind of suffocating pressure. Then you're wrong. Ling Qing, you immediately shook her head. Although the Imperial Sword is not as strong as the Vice President of the Immortal Court, I can tell you, even if he is weaker than the Vice President of the Immortal Court, he will not be much weaker. Is that so? Su Yun was secretly shocked. What you felt at that time was only the tip of the iceberg of the Vice President of the Immortal Court's strength. In reality, it is not his full strength. If you were in the underworld, you would have no chance of winning against him. Su Yun remained silent. Ling Qing, you did not say anything else. She thought that Su Yun was shocked by what she had said, but in truth, Su Yun was not only thinking about Ling Qing Yu's words, but also Ling Qing Yu herself. Qing Yu, what exactly are you reading? How could you know so much about these things? And you can actually see through such a strong rancor like the Imperial Sword? Finally, Su Yun could not help but ask. Hearing that, Ling Qing Yu was startled for a moment, then laughed. Although my cultivation is not high, but I have always stayed in the sword sheath to look outside. As the saying goes, the onlooker sees clearly, the onlooker is confused. What you can't see doesn't mean that I can't see. That is the logic. Is that so? Su Yun casually replied, but he did not believe it. Ling Qing Yu secretly looked at his face, then suddenly pointed to the front and said, We're almost there. Quickly follow me. Where to? Su Yun had a strange look on his face. Ling Qing Yu suddenly increased her pace and ran forward. Su Yun followed closely behind. The two of them jumped over the huge mountain and arrived at a vast plain, only to see that there were a large number of beasts on the plains. All of them were grotesque and varied. Some had lion heads and monkey bodies. Some had eagle beaks and horse legs. Some had wings on their backs. Some had 2 heads on their necks. Almost none of them were creatures that Su Yun had seen before. But without a doubt, these existences were all covered in the aura of death. Their eyes were waxy yellow, and they did not seem to be alive. Su Yun sized up the existence on the plains and frowned. What are these things? These are all creatures from the underworld. Ling Qing Yu looked into the distance and asked, Can you see through the strength of these creatures? This, Su Yun hesitated for a moment, then shook his head. I'm afraid not. These creatures are filled with death aura, and their cultivations are not weak. I do not dare to activate the magic treasure, so I do not know their depths. I'm afraid that even if you activate the magic treasure, you will not know the strength of these creatures, because in the underworld, they have the cultivation of profound spirit god. Ling Qingyu said indifferently. What? Hearing that, Su Yun was extremely shocked. Profound spirit god level creature? How is this possible? In the underworld, the aura of death is abundant, and they have an endless stream of aura of death, so their strength is limitless. Outside the underworld, they are extremely weak, but in the underworld, they can be said to be invincible, and it is because of their existence that they attract countless experts from the realms, because they need opponents too much, and these creatures can become their opponents. So that's how it is. Other than these creatures, there are many other things that you can't imagine. Ling Qingyu glanced at Su Yun and laughed. How about it? Su Yun, do you want to find a creature to practice with and try out the underworld chi? Practice? I'm afraid that's impossible. Su Yun shook his head. If I don't urge my chi, how can I be their match? Then you should first think of a way to overcome the combined illness of the underworld's death, aura, and immortal chi. How do I overcome this? Although it is said that you need to cultivate, in fact, you also need to be careful and be able to control your chi freely. Of course, there are tricks to it. Ling Qingyu laughed. Trick? Hearing that, Su Yun's face suddenly calmed down. You even know this trick? If she knew this, what else did Ling Qingyu not know? Chapter 12:27. Seeing that Su Yun's expression was a little strange, Ling Qingyu immediately said, Su Yun, don't misunderstand. I'm not some smart person. How can I know everything? Then how do you know that there's a trick to this thing? Could it be that you have already seen through the uniqueness of the death chi in the nether realm? Su Yun asked. The death aura of the nether realm is just a combination of human resentment, fear, despair, and fear, the result of a person's sublimation after death. And with so many supreme experts entering the nether realm, the first thing they have to do is to overcome the death aura here. In fact, this is the first test they have to face when they enter the nether realm. Once they overcome the death aura, no matter who it is, they will successfully break through. Su Yun, you are the same, but I thought about it carefully. In the nether realm, there are many tyrants, there are countless experts, but among these experts there are strong and weak, so why did they not break through? The weak did not overcome it, and the strong did not overcome it either. Under the effect of the death chi, their strength seems to be the same. Is this a problem of their cultivation and intelligence? Obviously not. It's just that they haven't found the trick. I thought about it carefully. Spirit cultivator of this realm obviously does not need to train hard and can no longer use the same old method to pursue a higher and stronger realm. What I should do now is to discover. Discover? Looking at Ling Qingyu, who was speaking with confidence and composure, Su Yun felt a little absent-minded. Ling Qingyu's words had indeed made his eyes light up, and he had benefited a lot from it. Thinking about it carefully, although it was true, it was unable to dispel his doubts towards Ling Qingyu. He thought for a moment and decided that when the time was right, he would have a good talk with Ling Qingyu. Although he knew that Ling Qingyu would not harm him, he still hoped to be able to meet Ling Qingyu honestly. Su Yun, since you have come to the Nether Realm, make good use of this opportunity. The Nether Realm is not a place that anyone can enter. Try to fight here. If you can overcome the death chi and successfully break through, it will definitely allow your realm to increase greatly, and your strength will definitely increase explosively. Ling Qingyu said, Fight here? How do I fight? If I casually use my chi here because of the death chi, I will lose all of my chi, no matter what cultivation level I am at, and it is extremely difficult to recover my chi here. How do I fight? Su Yun asked. It's indeed not easy to recover your chi here, but there's a place where it's very easy. You just need to circulate your chi. If you can comprehend a thing or two and find a shortcut, you'll benefit a lot. You mean the sword sheath? Su Yun asked. Yes. The sword box is indeed different from the ghost world. It's a unique space, and the death chi can't be used there. Qingyu, thank you for your concern, but I'm afraid that I can't focus on cultivation right now. After all, the army of the Immortal Court is coming, and I don't have much time left. If I can defeat the army of the Immortal Court and win some time to catch my breath, I might be able to focus on cultivation for a while. However, The situation is critical now. The gate of the ghost world is about to be breached by the army of the immortal court. Suyin shook his head and sighed. Do you have any countermeasures for the army of the immortal court? No. I'm afraid we can only rely on the Imperial Darksword for now. Count on others. Ling Qingyu's face revealed a look of astonishment, and she was a little dissatisfied as she asked, Su Yun, since when did you become someone who likes to rely on others? All this while, haven't you always relied on yourself? The Immortal Court has gathered dozens of powerful immortal sex elites, sent out 3 million people, and countless experts to attack the underworld, with the intention of eradicating the underworld and demon realms. With just me alone, what can I do to save them? Su Yun said helplessly. Were you like this in the past? Ling Qingyu suddenly looked straight at Su Yun, her eyes filled with an indescribable determination. Looking at Ling Qingyu's determined eyes, Su Yun was stunned. For some reason, although it was just a simple look, he could read too many complicated emotions from it. Did the current him disappoint Ling Qingyu? He took a deep breath and thought back to the past. That's right. In the past, he was weak, but the enemies he faced were still strong. But when had he ever been afraid? When had he ever placed his hopes on others? In this world, he could only rely on himself. He closed his eyes and started to think. Ling Qingyu stood at the side and did not disturb him. After an unknown period of time, he slowly opened his eyes. Qingyu, you're right. This time, I have indeed relied too much on others. Since the immortal realm is about to attack, what I need to do is not to place all my hopes on others, but to do my best to change everything. Su Yin said seriously. Regardless of whether or not he would succeed, at the very least, he had to work hard with success as his goal. Ling Qingyu nodded her head. Her serious face eased up a little, and she said, What do you plan to do now? Let's go back and take a look first. I reckon that the sect master and the He Dark Marshal should have returned from the 9 Calamities Dark Marshal. Actually, the alliance between the underworld and demon realms is definitely not a weak force. But right now, the hearts of the people are not united, and they are in a state of disunity. According to what you said before, the 9 Calamities and Flying Flames are targeting He because of personal grudges, and do not care about the army of the immortal realm. If the two of them are genuine Dark Marshal Su Yun, don't you think it's strange? Ling Qingyu frowned and suddenly asked. Hearing that, Su Yun could smell the meaning behind Ling Qingyu's words and asked, You think that the two of them are not targeting He Dark Marshal because of personal reasons? Since they are Dark Marshals, even if we don't talk about intelligence or breadth of mind, they should at least be able to see the big picture better than ordinary people. Now that there are enemies invading, no matter how selfish a person is, they should consider the threat of the enemies. Unless the two of them are confident that they have the ability to deal with the army of the immortal court. That's right. Su Yin touched his chin and nodded thoughtfully. What you said makes sense. Maybe the 3 Dark Marshals are hiding something from us. If it's just a matter of the underworld, it's fine if you ignore it, but this is the matter of the underworld demons. If you don't handle it well, then the problem will be huge. I want to intervene, but I have no right. Unless. Su Yin seemed to have thought of something. His eyes turned, and he said, Qingyu, let's go back first. Yes. Ling Qingyu's mouth curled up, and she immediately turned into a ray of light and entered the sword sheath. Su Yin headed straight for He's tribe. The moment he stepped into the tribe, he heard from the guards that He and the sect leader had returned. Su Yin immediately headed to the stone hall, and at that moment, the two of them were chatting in the stone hall. Other than them, there were also the underworld generals under He. These underworld generals were not the 5 underworld generals. The 5 underworld generals were the 5 strongest generals in the underworld realm other than the Dark Marshals. However, these 5 underworld generals were all under the command of the 9 Calamities and the Flying Flames. After all, out of the 3 of them, He was the weakest. The strength of the underworld generals under he could be said to be average and could not be considered strong. Greetings, Master He. Greetings, sect leader. Su Yin walked in and cupped his fists. Lord Demon Lord, you're here. He stood up and smiled. Demon Lord, you came at the right time. We were discussing something with Master Chi. The true devil sect leader said indifferently. What do you want to discuss? You should know that we're going to attend the 9 Calamities Underworld Marshals Banquet, right? Yes. As a matter of fact, apart from us, Infernal Commander Soaring Flames has also attended the banquet. The main content of the banquet revolves around the Immortal Court Army. Infernal Commander Soaring Flames and Infernal Commander 9 Calamities have decided to join hands with us and the Infernal Demons to fight against the Immortal Court Army, said Sect Master. With that said, Su Yun was startled. Are they sure they're going to join hands? Didn't they say that they wouldn't join hands? Why did they suddenly choose to cooperate with him? Su Yun did not think that the two of them would suddenly wake up at this critical juncture. If they really had foresight, they would have done so long ago when the news of the Imperial Sword's return came. Why did they not cooperate earlier or later, but at this time? If that's the case, then it's a good thing for the Underworld realm and the Devil Cultivator. I believe that the sect leader and Master Chi, he should have agreed, right? Yes, I agreed. With the 3 Underworld Marshals working together, with the leadership of the Imperial Sword, and the help of the people from the true Devil Realm, there is no need to worry about a mere motley crew from the Immortal World. Chi laughed. However, his smile made Su Yun see a sense of helplessness. Su Yun glanced at the sect leader and asked, "Is that really the case? Things shouldn't be so simple, right?" "It really isn't that simple," the sect leader said indifferently. After the 9 Calamities proposed to cooperate, Flying Flame did not have any objections, and Master Chi, he also agreed. However, after agreeing, Flying Flame immediately proposed to take the initiative to attack and defeat the Immortal Court Army first. He requested that he and Chi he bring 2 groups of people, cut in through the secret passage, circle around to the back of the Immortal Court Army, and launch a surprise attack on them. Let's first break the spirit of the Immortal Court Army. This is courting death, Su Yun said directly. Not to mention those who understood the art of war. Even those with normal thinking would know the pros and cons of this. It was already extremely difficult to face them head-on, so wouldn't a surprise attack be courting death? Furthermore, this was not a big tent of mortals. The Immortals had endless methods. If the people at the front of the army wanted to support the army at the back, they only needed an instant. Detour around and launch a surprise attack? This kind of tactic was no longer practical between the Immortals and demons. This is indeed a suicidal tactic, but the 9 Calamities agreed and requested the 2 of them to attack on the spot. The time of attack is set to be tomorrow, the sect leader said indifferently. With that said, Su Yun instantly understood the intentions of the 9 Calamities and also knew what these people were discussing. The 9 Calamities and Flying Flame obviously wanted to kill with a borrowed knife. Chapter 1228. A tactical sneak attack, at least in front of the enemy's army, had a force to restrain them so that they could not return in time to defend, but the Nether Gate had not been broken and the Underworld army had not been mobilized. So how could they restrain the Immortal Realm people? A sneak attack was courting death. Master Chi he agreed? Su Yun asked. There's nothing I could do if I don't agree. If I refuse, I will fall out with the 9 Calamities. With an excuse, he will definitely make things difficult for me on the spot. Chi said helplessly. The 9 Calamities of the Flying Flame are all present, and the experts under the 9 Calamities are all around. The 3 Underworld under his command are waiting outside. If they make a move, I'm afraid Master Chi, he will lose his life. At this time, the true Devil Sect Master said indifferently. Then, this is a banquet at Hongmin? Su Yun asked. That's right. Since I can't push it away, then, according to my plan, why don't Master Chi he agree to it? Su Yun said directly. With that said, Chi he was shocked. The sect master seemed to be indifferent. He quietly looked at Su Yun, obviously knowing that Su Yun had other thoughts. Go. How can that be? If he goes, he will either die or be injured. This is simply the 9 Calamities plan. He hopes to borrow the hands of the Immortal Court to weaken Master Chi he's power. That's right. Master Chi he cannot go. If he goes, he will die. If he sends someone, I'm afraid the person he sends will not be able to return. No matter who it is, we are already at a disadvantage, and we cannot directly fight against the people of the immortal court." The people at the side hurriedly said. All the underworld generals present nodded. Suyin laughed and said, "Since it's like that, why don't Master Qi, he also set up a banquet, called it a discussion, and invite Master Nine Calamities alone. Tell him that your strength is weak, and ask him to help you." "Help? How?" Qi did not understand, and turned to look at Su Yun. The reason why the Nine Calamities and Flying Flame dared to do this is entirely because Master Qi, he is weak, and is unable to contend against them. If they were weaker than you, how could they do this? Tell him that you have no one to use at the banquet, and hope that he can send some experts and elites to help you, so that you can launch a sneak attack. If he agrees, then that would be for the best. If he doesn't agree, then you can just send some people to deal with this operation. After you fail, you will have an excuse to decline." Su Yin said, "If that's the case, that's fine too. But what should I do if he agrees? I'm afraid that even if he agrees, he won't use any elites to help me. If I fail, I won't have any excuse to refuse. Instead, he can use this as an excuse to make things difficult for me." Qi said, "No need." Su Yun said indifferently, "If he sends people to help you, then let his people go to the battlefield, and your people will watch from the back. When most of his people are dead, you will retreat and pretend to be in a sorry state. When you return, you will directly announce to the people of the underworld that there are a large number of immortal court spies in Master Nine Calamities' army. Your actions have been exposed, and those who died are the spies. The dead will not speak, so you can push all the blame onto him. Whether the people of the underworld believe it or not, it is not important. What is important is that you have taken the initiative and gained the upper hand. But if you do that, wouldn't you be shedding all pretense of cordiality with Master Nine Calamities?" Qi said in shock. "Shedding all pretense of cordiality?" Su Yun glanced at him and asked indifferently, "Could it be that the skin between Master Qi and Master Nine Calamities has not been shed yet?" Hearing that, Qi fell into silence. Everyone looked at Qi in unison. Obviously, Su Yun's plan was completely feasible. In this way, not only would it reduce Qi's losses to the minimum, it would also give Nine Calamities a show of strength. Although the sect leader's face could not be seen clearly, Su Yun could feel that his gaze had always been on him. All right. After an unknown period of time, Qi suddenly stood up and cupped his fists towards Su Yun. "Master Demon Monarch is indeed extraordinary. In such a casual manner, you have solved a huge problem for me. Since Master Demon Monarch has said so, Qi will act according to the plan." "Yes." Su Yun nodded. Qi immediately went to prepare, and at the same time, sent an invitation to Nine Calamities. "I still have matters to attend to, so I will take my leave for now." Su Yun cupped his fists and said. Before leaving, he looked at the sect leader. The sect leader understood, and not long after Su Yun left, he also left. Su Yun waited in the Devil Cultivator tribe. Not long after, the sect leader walked over, accompanied by 2 Devil Cultivator, entered the hall, and the Devil Cultivator was dismissed. "You seem to have something to say to me," the sect leader said. "You sent Octagon Aniseed to the immortal world to inform the great demons. Is there any news?" Su Yun asked. "Octagon Aniseed should be back soon. As for how things are going, I'm not sure either. However, with Octagon Aniseed's ability, you should be able to rest assured. Lord Demon Monarch, you don't have to worry about anything," the sect leader said softly. "Sect leader, you seem to think that we will succeed in fighting against the Immortal Court army this time?" Su Yun asked. "You think we will fail? Devil Cultivator has nothing. The main force of this war is the Nether Dweller. The Devil Cultivator does not need to participate in the war head-on. But you know the current state of the Nether Dweller better than me." "I know." The sect leader turned around. With his hands behind his back, he said indifferently, "The internal conflict, the absence of the main force, is already a disadvantage. With this series of factors, if the Nether Gate is broken, the people of the Immortal Court will definitely sweep through the entire underworld like a hot knife through butter. I know all of this, but there's not much we can do. Lord Demon Monarch. In fact, I don't know who will win this battle, but I can tell you one thing. Even if the people of the immortal realm win, it will definitely be a Pyrrhic victory because this is the underworld. And I, the devil cultivator, will definitely become stronger in this battle. When the great demons of the immortal world return, you will immediately form an army that can intervene in the battle between the immortal underworld. If the Nether Dweller wins, you will immediately form a defensive line. And if the Nether Dweller loses, you will take the opportunity to attack the immortals, swallow them up, and then form a defensive line, right? Just then, Su Yun suddenly said with a serious face. The sect leader was silent for a moment, then nodded. I didn't expect you to be able to see through my thoughts. In fact, sect leader, even if you didn't mention it, I would have suggested it to you. The demon monarch seems to have other plans. Sect leader, you've been in the underworld longer than me. You should know a thing or two about the matters between the three underworld commanders, right? Su Yun walked a few steps closer and asked. The true devil sect leader seemed to be surprised. He turned and looked at Su Yun. After a long while, he nodded and said indifferently, That's right, I do know a thing or two, although it's not much, but this is the bit of information I know, and I'm also unable to confirm the authenticity of this information. Please report the truth, sect leader. Su Yun said. The true devil sect leader thought for a moment, then said, Since you've asked, I won't hide it. Lord Demon Monarch, maybe the two underworld commanders, Flying Flames and Nine Calamities, have cooperated with the people of the immortal court behind their backs. Cooperation? Su Yun was shocked. His mind was in a daze, as though he was unable to regain his senses. If Flying Flames and Nine Calamities were to cooperate with the immortal court, then the underworld would probably be meat on the chopping block. This news? Are you sure? I can't be completely sure. The sect leader shook his head. After all, there is no real evidence, but judging from the current situation, it is not impossible. The Nine Calamities and Flying Flames are both ambitious people. If they want to control the underworld, they must first get rid of Chi He, who has always been in their way. And this time, the Immortal Court army invaded. They did not have any defensive measures, and the Imperial Sword returned. They did not do anything I once thought if they joined forces with the Immortal Court army to frame the Imperial Sword. It is not impossible. I am afraid that the Imperial Sword will lose its life in this battle. Su Yun was completely shocked. Does Commander Chi He know about this? I don't know. Sect leader doesn't plan to say anything. There is no evidence, not to mention that we are outsiders. Regardless of the outcome of the battle between Immortal and Underworld, Devil Cultivator has to walk his own path. Su Yun understands. Lord Demon Lord, I know that you are a very opinionated and far-sighted person. This kind of thing is not suitable for me. What I have seen may not be as complete as what you have seen. Now that the Devil Cultivator has reached this stage, we have no other way out. I will leave all the matters of the Devil Cultivator to you. You have the power to stand shoulder to shoulder with me. Go ahead and do it boldly. I hope that you can lead the Devil Cultivator to a smooth path. The sect leader said. Hearing that, Su Yun was startled for a moment, then laughed bitterly. Sect leader, your words have increased the pressure on me. Are you going to be lazy again? I will do my best to help you. All right. Su Yun sighed again and again, then said, When Octagon Aniseed returns, tell him to come and see me quickly. These 2 days, don't make any movements, and see if there are any changes between Chi He and the Nine Calamities. Yes. The two of them chatted for a while. Then Su Yun immediately left the main hall. The Devil Cultivator-s from all over the True Devil realm were gathered here. Not only were there from the True Devil sect, there were also people from other Devil Cultivator-s, and there were even many fierce demons, causing the Devil Cultivator-s to be extremely chaotic. Su Yun could not stand the chaos here. He directly left the tribe and found a place where no one was around to sit down. Su Yun, not long after he sat down, a light call came out from the sword sheath. Hearing that, Su Yun looked at the sword sheath and laughed. Qingyu, what's wrong? Ling Qingyu used an unprecedented serious voice to ask. What is the strength of your true devil sect leader? What strength? Su Yun's head was filled with fog. He did not understand, but he still shook his head and said, I'm not too sure about that. I have never seen the sect leader make a move, and they have never talked about it 8 times. Is that so? Ling Qingyu was silent. Qingyu, why are you asking this all of a sudden? Oh, nothing. Nothing. Ling Qingyu randomly said a few words, and then did not say anything else. Su Yun's face was full of doubt. He wanted to ask, but he did not know how to start, so he could only give up. Chapter 1229. According to what Su Yun had said earlier, Qi He quickly sent out an invitation to open the banquet. The 9 calamities were naturally very surprised. Why would Qi He invite them at this time, for no rhyme or reason? However, Qi He only wanted to return the courtesy, and, at the same time, he hoped to discuss the sneak attack with the 9 disasters. When the 9 disasters heard this, they could not refuse and could only agree. The 9 disasters probably did not expect that this banquet would not be a good one. After it ended, Su Yun immediately went to find Qi He, and the result was as he expected. The 9 disasters agreed to send troops to help. However, although the 9 calamities had verbally agreed and said that they were elites, the soldiers they sent were all old and weak. None of them had overcome the special combination of the aura of death and the aura of their bodies. Moreover, they were all from low-level realms. Going against the immortal realm army head-on was simply courting death. Hearing this, Su Yun sighed again and again. Although he was vicious at times, he did not want to implicate the innocent. These people followed the 9 disasters, hoping to be able to follow them to seek the great Tao, to find a higher and stronger self. However, they were heartlessly sold by the 9 disasters. Perhaps even they themselves did not know what they were facing. But since it involved war, cruel things would inevitably happen. This was unavoidable. After Qi He received the people that the 9 disasters had sent, he immediately began to prepare. The Nether Gate would not last for a few days. He had to act early to not delay the important matters. On the second day of the banquet, Qi He's troops set off. Qi He personally led the troops. Although the generals in Qi He's tribe did not allow him to go personally, Qi He insisted on going. His attitude was extremely firm. He thought that only if he went, the 9 disasters would believe him, and the people of the underworld would believe him. At that time, if he wanted to shirk responsibility, it would be more convincing. Su Yun did not object. Since Qi He dared to go, he must have confidence. He knew better than anyone what he was facing. After Qi He led the troops, Su Yun and the sect leader waited in the demonic cultivator tribe. At the same time, he also received news that the Flying Flame Army had sent troops to attack. But this time, the Flying Flame Army did not send many troops. Moreover, Flying Flame did not personally go, but only waited in their own tribe. Actually, the 9 disasters didn't plan on letting Flying Flames participate in this operation. They just wanted to deal with Qi He and get him involved. In less than half a day's time, the scouts had already sent back news that the Immortal Court Army was in chaos. Clearly, Qi He and Flying Flames had already begun their operation. This kind of action should be over very soon, so Su Yun was not in a hurry. Not long after, what Su Yun waited for was not Qi He's return, but another person that he was not prepared to welcome. Mo Jihua. Mo Jihua didn't even stop at the 9 disasters and Qi He's place. Instead, she rushed straight to Qi He's place. Qi He's people weren't there, so she ran to the demon tribe alone. As the disciple of the Imperial Dark Sword, even the commander of the Dark World had to be polite to her. The rest of the Dark Dwellers did not dare to offend her. She hadn't even informed the 2 Netherworld Marshals of her arrival. If the 2 Netherworld Marshals found out, they would definitely be enraged. But she didn't care at all, not giving them any face at all. Hey, where's your Demon King? When Mo Jihua entered the Devil Cultivator tribe, he immediately shouted. The Devil Cultivator guarding the door were not from the true Devil sect. The 2 of them looked at each other in dismay. But seeing how arrogant the woman was, they did not dare to offend her and could only obediently go in to report. After knowing that Mo Jihua had arrived, Su Yun naturally did not dare to be negligent. If she had arrived, then it meant that the Imperial Dark Sword was about to arrive as well. Although Mo Jihua was a daughter, her actions were decisive and domineering. Without waiting for her to be announced, she walked in by herself. Su Yun, where are you? Mo Jihua shouted loudly. Su Yun heard it from afar, and the surrounding Devil Cultivator all turned to look, not knowing who it was. "Miss Mo, you're here?" Suyin called out and quickly walked over. Seeing that Mo Jihua's expression seemed to be anxious, Suyin felt that something was wrong. Could it be that something had happened to the Imperial Dark Sword? Sure enough, Mo Jihua ran over, saw Suyin, and immediately said, "Suyin, Master, something happened to Master. You might only be able to arrive a few days later. He told me to go first and tell you guys to hold on. You must not let the immortals enter the underworld." Suyin frowned and asked softly, "How long will Master Imperial Dark Sword take to return to the underworld?" "He said at least 5 days." 5 days, the sect master said indifferently. "With the current state of the gate to the underworld, I'm afraid it will be difficult to hold on for 2 days. If the Immortal Court army has any other methods, the Nether Gate might be broken tomorrow." "What?" Emoji Hua was also stunned. How did she know that the Nether Gate was in such a critical situation? "Since that's the case, then quickly let the 3 underworld commanders gather their troops and resist the people of the Immortal Realm. The underworld is not a dangerous place to defend. If they were to charge in, even if Master were to arrive, he would not be able to save the situation." Emoji Hua was not stupid. She knew the severity of the situation and immediately said. However, her words made Su Yun shake his head. "Miss Mo, although you are not from the underworld, but you should have some understanding of the current situation in the underworld. The 3 underworld commanders are in a deadlock because of their personal grudges, and the situation is tense. How can they work together to defend against the enemy?" Sigh. Emoji Hua had a helpless look on her face. "Since Master Imperial Dark Sword will arrive in about 5 days, then we can only think of a way to stall for time." Su Yin started to think, his face full of seriousness. The sect master and Mo Jiwa both looked at him. It was obvious that they could only rely on Su Yun at this time. After an unknown period of time, Su Yun suddenly raised his head and directly turned to the sect master and said, "Sect master, I'll have to trouble you to quickly inform the generals under Commander Chihi's command and let them arrange to spread some news in the underworld, saying that Master Imperial Darksword is approaching the underworld, and let the 3 underworld commanders prepare to welcome Master Imperial Darksword. You plan to confuse the people of the Immortal Court?" The sect master immediately sensed Su Yun's intentions. "That's right." Su Yun nodded his head. "In the underworld, there must be spies from the Immortal Court. Maybe the Immortal Court knows about the conflict between the 3 underworld commanders. If not, why would they attack the Nether Gate so brazenly? If we spread this news, they will definitely be afraid. That way, they will not attack us so fiercely, and we will be able to buy more time. I will arrange it," the sect master said indifferently. "I think this will only give us 1 more day of time. Although the people of the Immortal Court are afraid of Master Imperial Darksword's reputation, they are prepared, and once they find out that Master Imperial Darksword is not in the underworld, they will attack even more fiercely, and their attacks will be even stronger than before. If we can't think of another way to restrain the Immortal Court army, I'm afraid that the time for the Nether Gate to be broken will be pushed forward. Is there not a single underworld commander willing to send troops to guard the Nether Gate?" Mo Jihua was anxious. "Commander Chi, he has gone to guard, but he has too few experts under him. Guarding the Nether Gate is just like a mantis trying to stop a chariot, and there is no effect. The other 2 underworld commanders are just watching from the sidelines and have no intention of helping at all." Su Yin shook his head. The 3 of them fell into silence. Mo Jihua clenched his fists tightly, obviously indignant at the actions of the 9 calamities and flying flames. There was no better idea. Right now, he could only take 1 step at a time. At this critical juncture, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens to fight for another minute, let alone a few days. Su Yun exhaled and said, "Let's make this decision for now. Let me think of a countermeasure. I'll make the arrangements. Demon Lord, you don't need to bear too much responsibility. After all, this is the underworld. You only need to do your best. If you can't do anything, don't take the risk." The true devil sect lord said indifferently, and immediately left, not even bidding farewell to Mo Jihua. Suyin nodded and did not say anything. Emo Joie looked at the person who left, moved his face closer to Su Yun, and asked softly, "Is this person true devil sect master?" Su Yun said, "Why can't I see his face clearly? Why are you covering your face all of a sudden?" "I don't know either. Have you seen his face?" "No. It's really mysterious." Emo Joie glanced at the direction the sect master left in, then took out an order badge from her waist and handed it over to Su Yun, and said, "Su Yun, I forgot to give you this. Take it. This is Master's order badge. Master told me to come here first and give the order badge to you, and also told you to temporarily replace him to form the Underworld Army to resist the Immortal Court Army. This is the order badge of the Imperial Underworld Sword." Su Yun looked at the item in his hand and was surprised. "Yes, but even if I hold this, it will be useless. Flying Flames and 9 Calamities will not care about me at all. As long as they insist that this order badge is fake, then I will not be able to do anything to them. Even if your master comes, he will not be able to do anything to it." Su Yun shook his head and sighed. Master also knows this, but he seems to have some understanding of the situation in the underworld. He said that as long as he gives you the order badge, you will help him temporarily stabilize the situation in the underworld. He said that he trusts you very much. Your master really knows how to do things. I've only met him once, and he already believes me. Would you believe such a thing?" Su Yun shook his head. "I do." Unexpectedly, Emo Jihua immediately replied. Su Yun was startled. He turned to look at Emo Jihua, only to see that her eyes were filled with determination, without any doubt. He stared blankly into Emo Jihua's eyes, and vaguely, he seemed to have understood something. He smiled lightly and said, "All right, since your master has handed the order badge to me, then I will temporarily accept it. However, I have to tell you in advance, your master might have misjudged me, and I might fail to live up to his expectations." "Don't worry, my master will not misjudge a person," Emo Jihua said straightforwardly. "I hope so." Chapter 1230. Although Su Yun did not know why the Imperial Ming Sword gave him the order badge, he was sure of one thing. With this badge, it would be much easier to do anything. With the 9 calamities and soaring flames pressuring him, Chi-He's words did not hold any weight. But now that Su Yun had the order badge, with the Imperial Underworld Sword supporting him, even the 9 calamities had to give him face and did not dare to be presumptuous. Emo Jihua chatted with Su Yun for a while, then went to rest. Su Yun arranged a place for her, but Emo Jihua did not like the noisy demonic tribes. The Imperial Ming Sword also had a tribe in the underworld, but there were not many people there, and it was located in a remote area. Emo Jihua went to the tribe alone to wait for the Imperial Ming Sword's return. Su Yun did not urge her to stay. Not long after Emo Jihua left, another message came. Chi-He had returned. Everything went according to Su Yun's plan. Chi-He led his men out and killed all of the 9 calamities men. After that, they returned in a sorry state and directly accused the 9 calamities of having a large number of spies from the Immortal Lyceum. Their whereabouts were exposed, and before they could launch a surprise attack on the Immortal Lyceum, they were ambushed by the enemy. They were caught unprepared, and Chi-He even had injuries on his body, as though he had almost lost his life. Chi-He returned to his tribe on the main road, and many people from the underworld saw it clearly. Hearing this, 9 calamities and flying flames also hurried to Chi-He's tribe. Facing Chi-He's accusation, 9 calamities' face was extremely ugly. He had already heard from his subordinates that although Chi-He's men were also injured, they were merely injured. Not a single one of them died. Moreover, their injuries looked extremely miserable on the surface, but in reality, they were not serious. Losing an arm or a leg was a small matter, and their cultivation was not affected at all. 9 Calamity wasn't a fool. He immediately understood why he invited him to a banquet and asked him to help him. He was just putting on an act. From the very beginning, he never intended to fight the Immortal Court head-on. He only wanted to send his men to their deaths. 9 calamities, flying flames, and he argued in the main hall for an incense worth of time. Then 9 calamities and flying flames left. Flying flames was still fine, But 9 calamities left with an ashen face. No one knew what they were talking about. When the 2 underworld commanders left, Chi immediately called for Su Yun and did not even call for the sect leader. When Su Yun rushed to the hall, Chi had already dispersed everyone in the stone hall and directly pulled Su Yun and asked, "Lord Demon Lord, I have already done as you said. It's just that the 9 calamities underworld marshal seems to have seen through our tricks the conflict between me and him. I'm afraid that it can't be resolved. What should we do now?" "Lord Chi, there's no need to panic. Let me ask you, what's the situation with the Immortal World Army?" "They have already started moving. The Immortal Court Army at the front of the Nether River has already started moving towards the Nether Gate. Although they are moving slowly, they are well prepared. I believe that the Nether Gate would have already been destroyed by the time they reach it." "How long do you think the Nether Gate can last?" "I don't know, at most a day, maybe in the next second." Chi couldn't predict the methods of the Immortal Court. "Is that so?" Su Yun rubbed his chin and started to think. Seeing that Su Yun did not speak for a long time, Chi became anxious and asked, "I heard that Lord Imperial Sword is about to return. Lord Demon Lord, since you have invited Lord Imperial Sword, then you should know when he will arrive, right?" The Immortal Court Army was well prepared this time. I pulled the 9 calamities underworld marshal's men to launch a sneak attack, but when those thousands of people approached a weak spot at the back of the Immortal Court Army, before they could even activate their moves, they were struck by a large number of spells, and in less than 100 breaths of time, thousands of people were completely annihilated. My men did not even have the time to go up and kill them, and when I saw that the situation was bad, I immediately retreated. "What?" Hearing that, Su Yun was shocked. "They can't even hold on for 100 breaths of time?" "Yes." Chi shook his head helplessly. "Although there is death chi outside the Nether Gate, it is not as abundant as inside the Nether Realm. If we can rely on the death chi, we, the Nether Realm, will be invincible, but the death chi is not abundant, and many of these Nether Realm people do not even have the cultivation of spirit profound immortal. How can they be a match for the elites of the immortal world? Furthermore, none of the people that the 9 calamities underworld marshal sent to me have the cultivation of spirit profound immortal." Su Yun was silent. After an unknown period of time, he opened his mouth and said indifferently, "We need to stall for time now. The 9 calamities and flying flames can no longer be counted on. The only thing we can do is to rely on ourselves." "Does Lord Demon Lord have any other methods?" Chi asked. "Immediately send people to spread the news about you. The 9 calamities and flying flames, the bigger the better. It will be best for the Nether Realm people to know that the 9 calamities sent you and flying flames to attack the Immortal Court Army. There are many informants of the Immortals among the Nether Realm people. These Immortals will spread the news. The Immortals will definitely understand that the Nether Realm people are not in harmony. The sneak attack just now was only because of the personal grudges between the Underworld Marshals. In this way, they will look down on the Nether Realm people even more and attack the Nether Realm even more crazily." "What do you want?" Chi asked hurriedly. "Another sneak attack." Su Yun's eyes flashed with a cold light. "Another sneak attack? Another? How do we sneak attack?" Chi's eyes wavered. He was a little confused, but he seemed to have guessed Su Yun's intention. "The Nether Gate cannot be lost. Otherwise, the Nether Realm will be wiped out. Chi, at this time, you should not think about the grudges between the 9 calamities and flying flames. You should focus on the Nether Realm and not hide anything." Su Yun stared at Chi with a serious face. Chi felt that Su Yun had not finished speaking. He was silent for a moment, then said, "Lord Demon Lord, if there is anything you want to say, just say it. Chi will listen. It's very simple. Gather all the elites in your hands, and then carry out a sneak attack on the Immortal Realm Army according to the previous sneak attack plan. This sneak attack is no longer just for show. It is a direct attack on the Immortal Court Army." Hearing this, Chi put his hands behind his back and paced back and forth in the stone hall for a while. His eyebrows were tightly knitted, his eyes drooping, as if he was thinking about something. Su Yun looked at him quietly and did not make a sound, quietly waiting for his reply. After an unknown period of time, "I know what to do. I will arrange it." This matter must be very secretive. The 9 calamities and flying flames must not know, and even the other underworld dwellers must not know. Lord Chi, he can move as fast as lightning. The Immortal Realm Army cannot react, and if it succeeds, the Immortal Realm Army will definitely be terrified and will not dare to attack again. After it is done, Lord Chi, he will call for a large number of underworld dwellers to gather in front of the Nether Gate, enough to protect the Nether Realm Gate, and wait for Lord Imperial Darksword to return. Su Yun said indifferently. All right. Chi-He's eyes glowed. He was full of energy and did not waste any more words with Su Yun, and immediately turned to leave. After Chi-He left, Su Yun heaved a sigh of relief. If it was done according to this plan, there would not be any big problems. The Immortal Realm Army would definitely not react, but his only worry was in the Immortal Realm Army this time, whether there was an existence similar to the Minister's Envoy. If there was a Minister's Envoy, then the underworld dwellers would really be in a passive position and would not be able to take the initiative to attack. Chi want to take action. Su Yun was still waiting here for news. The key to the battle between the Immortal Realm Army was in these few days. As long as the Imperial Darksword could arrive in time, then there was hope for the Underworld Realm. If the Immortal Realm Army broke through the Underworld Realm before the Imperial Darksword returned, then everything would be for naught and would never be able to recover. The days of waiting were extremely anxious. Time was pressing. Chi did not dare to be negligent. After deciding on this plan with Su Yun, he secretly gathered all the underworld dwellers within 4 hours. The underworld dwellers outside did not know what Chi was going to do. Very quickly, Chi's tribe was empty. The underworld soldiers and underworld generals under his command were nowhere to be found. Some people began to guess if Chi was going to support the Nether Gate. Others guessed that Chi was going to make a move on the 9 calamities and flying flames. The rumors spread everywhere, causing people to be confused. The situation in the underworld was already chaotic enough at this critical moment. Chi made such a move. How could people not be anxious? But very quickly, news came from the Nether Gate. The Immortal Realm Army actually stopped attacking the Nether Gate. Those giants that were madly pounding on the Nether Gate started to retreat. A large number of Immortal Realm Army directly retreated to the back of the army. After the scouts found out, a large number of Underworld Army figures appeared behind the Immortal Realm Army. They were actually launching a sneak attack on the Immortal Realm Army. This sneak attack was a true sneak attack. It was a crazy sneak attack. The people of the Immortal Court were caught off guard, and the Nether Gate was immediately out of danger. Hearing this news, Su Yun heaved a sigh of relief. And the underworld dwellers in the underworld also immediately understood Chi-He's actions. In a moment, excited and cheering sounds rang out. All of the underworld dwellers were cheering for Chi-He's righteous actions. Chi-He seemed to have used all of his strength, but against the Immortal Realm Army, with just him alone, it was obvious that he could not hold on for long. Su Yun waited in the stone hall for an afternoon. An urgent report came from the back of the Immortal Realm Army. However, this urgent report was not given to Su Yun. It was directly distributed to the people of the Underworld Army. The person who sent this urgent report was no one else. It was Chi-He. And the content of this urgent report was also very simple. There were only 2 words. Urgent help. Chi-He needed reinforcements. He needed a large number of reinforcements. He urgently needed a large number of reinforcements. The underworld dwellers all understood Chi-He's meaning. The scouts continuously reported the situation of the battle behind the Immortal Realm Army. Chi-He's army seemed to have the advantage. The Immortal Realm Army seemed to have the advantage. The experts were like clouds, but in reality, they were just a motley crew. Urgent help came, but the underworld dwellers were hesitant. The 9 disasters and flying flames did not move. They did not have the slightest intention of helping. Su Yun frowned. He felt that something was not right. But not long after, another shocking news came from the Immortal Realm battlefield. The vice commander of the Immortal Realm Army, Xian Wu, was killed. His body was directly swallowed by Chi-He. This news, in the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, spread throughout the entire underworld. Chapter 1231. This time, the commander of the Immortal Court's allied army was Lung Bai, a famous bigwig of the Immortal Court. He was a second-rank envoy and had an extremely high status in the immortal court. All the sects and figures in the immortal world had to give him face. This time, he was seriously considered as the commander of the immortal world's army by the immortal court. Putting aside his personal strength, his commanding ability was absolutely outstanding. As one of the deputy commanders, Xian Wu wasn't an ordinary person either. It was said that Xian Wu was a rank 3 emissary, but he had the strength of a rank 2 emissary. Although he wasn't as strong as Lung Bai, he shouldn't be underestimated. How could the immortal court send an incompetent person for this operation? Su Yin had asked Qi He to lead a sneak attack, hoping that he would stall for time. How could he kill Xian Wu? Were the people of the immortal court so weak? Strange. It was too strange. When Su Yin heard this news, his head was filled with fog. He did not dare believe what he had heard. However, this news caused the people of the underworld to boil. Even the deputy commander of the Celestial World Army had been killed. Was the Celestial World Army so weak? Currently, Qi He was still fighting in the front line. If they could support him at this time, they would definitely be able to inflict a great deal of damage to the Immortal Court Army. At that time, the Immortal Court Army would not be able to recover from this setback. When the Imperial Hellsword arrived, the Immortal Court Army would no longer have a chance. In an instant, the entire underworld responded. The underworld dwellers all rushed towards Flying Flames and the 9 Disasters, strongly requesting the 2 underworld marshals to immediately send troops to support Qi He. Reports of victory from the front lines kept coming in. How could these two continue to remain indifferent? 9 Disasters and Flying Flames were also stunned. Qi's actions were completely outside of their expectations. They hadn't received any news that Qi He was going to attack. How could it be like this out of nowhere? Naturally, the 9 Calamities didn't want to go to Strange River's aid. However, news of victory was coming from Strange River, and the enthusiasm of the Dark Dwellers was soaring. Although these Dark Dwellers came from the myriad worlds, many of them had stayed in the Netherworld for countless years and had developed feelings for this place. Naturally, they didn't want this last piece of pure land to be taken away by the people of the Immortal Court. Therefore, the front of the 9 Calamities tribe was packed with people. At every moment, there were people calling out to the 9 Calamities like madmen, asking the 9 Calamities to attack. Helpless, the 9 Disasters could only look for Flying Flames to discuss this matter. Within the great hall of the 9 Calamities tribe, bang! Flying Flames slammed his fist on the table, his face filled with anger. That scoundrel Qi, he played a really good hand. He went alone to launch a sneak attack, and even killed the deputy commander-in-chief of the Immortal Court, Xian Wu. His reputation in the underworld has skyrocketed, and all the underworld dwellers are on his side. From the looks of it, he's about to become the Lord of the Underworld. Fei Yin said angrily, his voice filled with indignation. Brother Fian, I know you're unwilling. I'm also unwilling. This little Qi, he has been hiding for so many years. We don't even know what his true strength is. I never thought that he would finally reveal it today. Even Xian Wu has been killed. If we still do nothing, I'm afraid that Lung Bai will die in his hands. If Lung Bai is killed, the Immortal World Army will definitely collapse. At that time, once the Immortal Court Army retreats, he will become the savior of the underworld. In this way, his reputation will definitely be higher than ours, and the underworld dwellers will also submit to him. Once his power skyrockets, how can there be a place for us in this vast underworld? 9 Disasters said in a low voice. You're right, Lord 9 Disasters. We must think of a way. This can't go on. Flying Flames said directly. Yes, but at this time, the initiative is already in Qi He's hands. Outside, there are many underworld dwellers asking us to bring troops to support Qi He. If we ignore them, I'm afraid that our reputation in the underworld will plummet. We'll lose the hearts of the people, and it'll be difficult for us to establish ourselves in the future. But if we go, won't we be helping Qi He achieve success? Flying Flames said anxiously. Hearing this, 9 Disasters immediately waved his hand. Don't worry, it's not that simple. We've suppressed Qi He for so long. How can we let him suppress us so quickly? Lord 9 Disasters, Do you have any brilliant plan? Brilliant plan? Not really. Nine Disaster's eyes flashed with coldness, and he said in a deep voice, "But this is a vicious plan." Vicious plan? Flying Flames was stunned for a moment. But Nine Disasters said in a cold voice, "All these years, hasn't it always been he who has been obstructing our plans to unify the underworld? Since the Immortal Court army is coming this time, why don't we take this opportunity to in for a penny, in for a pound, and get rid of this obstacle?" Hearing this, Flying Flames immediately understood what Nine Disasters meant. His eyes immediately lit up, and his expression became gloomy. After a long time, he nodded and said in a deep voice, "All right, Lord Nine Disasters, I'll go and prepare immediately. After an incense sticks time, we'll set off to support Chi-Hi." "Yes." Nine Disasters nodded and didn't say anything else. Very quickly, the news of Nine Disasters and Flying Flames going all out to support Chi-Hi spread throughout the underworld. The experts of the Nine Disasters tribe and Flying Flames tribe quickly gathered, and the underworld dwellers also responded. Very quickly, the army was assembled. In an instant, the morale of the underworld dwellers was high, and they had the momentum to completely defeat the Immortal Court army. Naturally, Suyin also received this extremely unexpected news. At this moment, he was getting more and more confused about what the three underworld commanders wanted to do. He only wanted Chi-Hi to launch a sneak attack at this critical juncture to delay the Immortal Court army's advance and prevent the Underworld Gate from being destroyed by the Immortal Court army. When the Imperial Underworld Sword returned, the Imperial Underworld Sword would take charge of the overall situation and resist the Immortal Court army. However, Chi-Hi's method was beyond Su Yun's expectations. The Immortal Court army was continuously losing ground, and Xian Wu was killed. The Immortal Realm dwellers were all terrified, and their morale was greatly reduced. They had no strength to fight against the underworld dwellers. Suyin didn't know Chi-Hi very well. After all, he hadn't been in the underworld for a long time, but he never expected Chi-Hi to have such methods. Was it because the underworld dwellers were too strong? Or Chi-Hi's ability was too strong? Was it not what he had expected? Or the Immortal Realm army wasn't as strong as they looked on the surface, and was actually extremely weak and completely unable to fight? Suyin didn't know, but he had seen the Immortal Court army with his own eyes. Although what he saw was just the tip of the iceberg, he knew that these were not ordinary people. Back then, he had been watching the shaman from the side. The underworld dwellers were indeed strong. To be able to survive in a place filled with death chi, it could be seen that they were not ordinary people. But this batch of Immortal Realm dwellers were definitely the elites of the elites. The underworld dwellers didn't have the advantage in numbers. So how could there be a situation where they were outnumbered and overwhelmed the Immortal Court army? Su Yun was suspicious. He believed that many underworld dwellers had the same question. Suyin didn't know if Flying Flames and Nine Calamities had any suspicions, but the actions of the two of them at this critical juncture made him feel extremely strange. The two of them rejected Chi-Hi. At this critical juncture, they could only sit and watch. How could they send troops to attack? Idiots! 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 A bunch of idiots! Just as Su Yun was thinking, an incomparably angry voice came from outside. Su Yun looked over, only to see Mo Jihua walking in with a face full of anger. She was muttering something, her face full of anger. "Miss Mo, what's wrong?" Su Yun could not help but ask. Are these people from the underworld all idiots? Not only did they not defend the underworld, they actually took the initiative to attack. It's fine if it's a sneak attack, but now that the one who launched the sneak attack is asking for help, they actually all attacked. Did they not have any brains at all? Mo Jihua was anxious and started to speak incoherently. Hearing that, Su Yun frowned and anxiously asked, "Miss Mo, what do you mean? Why is it not appropriate to attack? Do you still need to ask? Why is the underworld special? Why do the people of the myriad realms change their expressions when they talk about it? Isn't it because this place is special? However, the death aura here is so special that even the people of the immortal realm cannot endure it. If they were to fight on their own land, it would actually be extremely beneficial to the people of the underworld, Even if they were unable to integrate the death aura and had just entered the underworld, at least here, they were more experienced than the immortals who had just arrived and knew how to deal with it and how to protect themselves. But the immortals could not. If they were to fight here, they would not be able to fight for long, and all of them would become soft shrimps. But if they were to all go out and fight with the immortal realm army, not to mention victory or defeat, even if they were to win, it would be a Pyrrhic victory, and the people of the underworld would also suffer heavy losses. Do you know? Emoji Hua's voice grew louder. Hearing that, Su Yun's face immediately turned pale. He lowered his eyes, quickly thinking about something. After an unknown period of time, he took 2 steps back and thought to himself, not good. What's wrong? Emoji Hua saw that Su Yun's expression was extremely ugly and immediately asked, Quickly stop flying flames and 9 calamities. Don't let them go to support Chi-He. Quick! Su Yun shouted anxiously. Emoji Hua was stunned and said, It's too late, right? The 2 generals have already led their troops to the secret passage. Just half an incense's worth of time before I came to find you. What? Su Yun's face changed. Su Yun, what's going on? Why is your face so ugly? Emoji Hua asked. The underworld lost. Su Yun said softly. How? Emoji Hua's eyes widened. If it was according to what you said, Chi-He would never mention the word urgent. Su Yun gritted his teeth and said, after the 9 calamities ordered Chi-He to sneak attack, the Immortal Realm Army also found out about this absurd farce, so I took the opportunity to tell Chi-He to quickly sneak attack again. This time, the sneak attack had to be real, fast, and fierce. He did it, and successfully restrained the Immortal Realm Army, and resolved the danger at the Nether Gate, but if that was the case, Chi-He should have immediately retreated. But he didn't, and instead pursued after victory. According to what you said, with Chi-He's personality, he would never ask for help. So there are only 2 possibilities. 1, Chi-He was killed, and the urgent rescue was done by the Immortal Realm Army. But the battlefield is filled with spies, so the possibility of this is not high. Then there is only the second possibility. What? What possibility? Emoji Hua stared at Su Yun without blinking, as if he had forgotten to breathe, waiting for his words. Su Yun said in a low voice, 1 word at a time. Chi could be from the Immortal Realm Army. Chapter 1232. That's impossible. Just as Su Yun said that, Emoji Hua immediately said, Why? Commander Chi, he has always been in the underworld, and his experience is not inferior to the other 2 commanders. No matter how many tricks the Immortal Court has, they would not let him be a spy for the Immortal Court. But what if the mystical river we see is not the mystical river from before? Su Yun asked. With that said, Emoji Hua was immediately speechless. If that was the case, it was not impossible. Miss Emo, let's not talk about whether this Lord Chi-He is real or not. Right now, the most important thing to do is to immediately summon the 9 disasters and flying flames. Don't let them go to support Chi-He. Also, send an order to Chi-He for the 3 of them to immediately defend the Underworld Gate. With the 3 of them working together, it won't be difficult for them to defend until Lord Imperial Sword returns. Su Yun said, but right now, the Underworld Dwellers' morale is rising, and all of them want to fight the Immortal Court head-on. How can we call them back? Emoji Hua felt a headache. There's a way. Su Yun took out the order badge that Emoji Hua had given him and bellowed. Time is of the essence. Miss Emo, are you willing to follow me to the battlefield? Emoji Hua was startled for a moment, then snorted. What are you afraid of? Let's go. The 2 of them immediately rushed out of the door. In fact, after Chi-He asked for help, many of the underworld dwellers also voiced out their doubts. But the voices of doubt could not overcome the voices of support. The minority followed the majority, and the underworld dwellers had no choice but to go on stage, and the underworld dwellers who chose to stay also saw the existence of the clues. They were not willing to go on stage. They believed that helping Chi-He was not a wise choice, and thus they carried the infamy of being afraid of battle. But they did not care. If it was Su Yun, he would have done the same. Emoji Hua was still very familiar with the underworld realm. She led Su Yun directly to the passage that led to the river Styx. Stepping onto the white bone platform, the death aura on the platform exploded, enveloping the two of them. In an instant, it formed a vortex enveloping the two of them and quickly disappeared. When Su Yun regained his senses, the two of them were already at the bottom of the river Styx. At this moment, this secret passage was already guarded by a large number of dark dwellers. The dark dwellers filled the bottom of the Netherworld River, and they had already begun to set up formations and place their artifacts in preparation. A few dark dweller generals saw the two approaching, and one of them recognized Emojihua. They immediately ran over and cupped their fists at her. "Greetings, Lord Emo. Is this Master Imperial Sword's disciple, Master Emojihua Emo?" This subordinate greets Lord Emo. These underworld generals were extremely polite. "Enough nonsense. Let me ask you, where are your 9 calamities underworld marshals and flaming underworld marshals? Where are they?" Emojihua asked anxiously. "The 2 dark commanders have already led their elites to the front lines to support Lord Chi-He. Lord 9 calamities ordered us to station here and guard the entrance. We are not to allow any netherworld dwellers to escape back to the netherworld, and we are not to allow the people of the immortal court to take advantage of the situation to enter." "What? He went to the front line?" Emojihua was shocked. "Such a fast speed? When did they become so active in the matters of Chi-He?" Su Yun sorted out his messy head, and then asked, "Immediately send an elite team to escort me and Master Emo to the battlefield. We have important matters to discuss with the 2 underworld commanders. If we are delayed, the underworld will not be able to protect us. Hurry." Hearing that, the Dark Dweller General was shocked. He immediately called for his men and sent out an elite team to lead the 2 of them forward. They walked to the bottom of the Netherworld River. The Netherworld River was filled with a lot of death chi. Although it was not as dense as in the Netherworld, it was still hard for ordinary immortals to endure. Thus, other than a few immortals who fell into the river due to their injuries, the rest were all dark dwellers. Above the Netherworld River, there were many figures. Some were fighting, some were fleeing, some were immortals, and some were dark dwellers. The battlefield of the Immortal and Netherworld War covered a large area. The battles between immortals were not affected by many factors. Many classic battle tactics were also useless. Along the way, there were no immortals obstructing them, but this made Su Yun feel uneasy. After an unknown period of time, a group of over 1,000 underworld dweller elites appeared in his line of sight. They were placed inside the Styx on the main road that led to the secret passage. Seeing that Su Yun and the rest had arrived, the underworld dweller-s immediately rushed out, their blades and swords pointed at them. "What are you doing? Get out of the way!" The leader of the underworld dweller immediately shouted at them. "Who are these 2? The ambushers looked at Su Yun and Emojihua and asked, "This is the true devil sex Lord Demon Lord, and this is Lord Imperial Sword's beloved disciple, Lord Emojihua. Why are you asking so many questions? Quickly let us go. We have important matters to attend to. If we delay, all of you will lose your lives." The man shouted. With that said, how could the underworld dweller dare to stop them? They immediately dispersed and hid at the side. Su Yun looked at them, but did not care and continued to walk forward. However, not long after, another group of people burst out. These people were the same as the previous group. They all recognized these elites and could even call out their names, but they did not know Su Yun and Emojihua. If it was the people from Chi-He's side, they would definitely recognize Su Yun. Emojihua's face was a little unfamiliar, but he recognized this group of elites. This group of elites were all from the 9 calamities. From this, it could be seen that the dark dwellers lying in ambush might be from the 9 calamities. However, this path was a secret passage to the underworld. Normally, the immortal court would not know of this path and would not attack here. After all, this secret passage was at the bottom of the Styx River and was guarded by the dark dwellers. It would not be easy for them to break through. Then, why did the 9 calamities send so many underworld soldiers to guard this place? Who were they guarding? Su Yun thought for a while, and suddenly a possibility flashed through his mind. Could it be that the 9 calamities wanted to guard the strange river? Could it be that the 9 calamities were planning to his expression was extremely ugly, but in his heart he looked down on these so-called underworld commanders even more. At such a critical juncture, they were still thinking of their own interests. The 9 calamities had set up 7 checkpoints along the way, and Su Yun had to stop at almost every checkpoint. It was extremely troublesome. After half an incense stick of time, he finally reached the edge of the battlefield. At this moment, flying flames and the 9 calamities were not commanding outside the battlefield, but directly brought people into the battlefield. The entire immortal court was in a mess. The bottom of the river Styx was already filled with a large number of corpses. Some of them were underworld dwellers, and some were immortals. It was impossible to tell who was who, and at every moment, there was a large number of corpses falling from above. The originally turbid river Styx was already dyed red by the blood of the underworld dwellers and immortals. The smell of blood was so pungent that it felt like the soul was about to leave the body, and it was extremely uncomfortable. At this moment, at the bottom of the river Styx, there was not only the aura of death, but also the aura of blood and killing. The underworld dwellers who were escorting Su Yun and Mo Jihua rushed out of the river Styx, and the two of them followed. Once out of the river Styx, several spells flew over, and these elites hurriedly used their techniques to block, and barely managed to block. Su Yun and Mo Jihua looked around, and realized that there was a large number of scattered soldiers fighting. The immortals were strong, but the underworld dwellers were not weak either. Even if they were not fighting on their own land, the strength they displayed was also abnormally strong. This group of elites protected the two of them tightly. After that, the leader cupped his fists towards Mo Jihua. Lord Mo, the main battlefield is right in front of us. We really can't go over, so we'll have to escort you here. The battlefield is chaotic, and this subordinate suggests that Lord Mo wait for the 3 netherworld marshals to finish their battle before reporting to them. If anything happens to Lord Mo, it will be too late for regrets. You guys go back first. Mo Jihua acted as if she did not hear the advice of the underworld dweller and said directly. She and Su Yun looked at each other, and the two of them rushed towards the battlefield. Su Yun immediately pulled out the dual moon sword, and like a black wind, Mo Jihua also took out her true fire sword, one black and one red. They rushed into the chaotic and dense crowd of people on the battlefield. Killing together, the two of them cleared a path. Su Yun and Mo Jihua were both profound spirit god realm cultivators. The ordinary immortals and underworld dwellers were definitely not their match, adding that there were not many immortals behind them. The two of them did not need to spend too much effort. Casually grabbing a passing underworld dweller and asking about the whereabouts of the 9 calamities and flying flames, the two of them rushed forward. Voila! Just then, a burst of white light suddenly descended from the sky, covering the entire River Styx area, and the dim River Styx seemed to be illuminated by the white light. Under the white light, the underworld dwellers seemed to be unable to endure the pain brought by the white light. All of them covered their faces with their hands and screamed in pain. One could see that the underworld dwellers who were illuminated by the white light, their bodies emitted a large amount of white qi, and the sizzling sound was extremely piercing. Su Yun was startled. He anxiously looked around and realized that other than the underworld dwellers, there were also many immortals who were stained by the river Styx, and revealed the same painful expression. Following that, on top of the white light, countless immortals descended. With a glance, they were densely packed, and there were at least 1,000,000 of them. It's the main force of the Immortal World Army. An underworld dweller shouted out in shock, "Kill!" The underworld dwellers rushed forward in a frenzy. But the Immortal World Army that appeared this time was not as weak as the Immortal World Army that they had met before. A few of the underworld dwellers who were in the midst of fighting had just rushed forward, but were immediately turned into ashes by the combined attacks of the 1,000,000 immortals. They did not even touch each other's hands. Not good. Su Yun stared at the 1,000,000 immortals in the vast sky, and vaguely, he felt that everything seemed to be irreversible. At this time, among the 1,000,000 immortals in the sky, a person walked out. This person's entire body was emitting a holy light. With a serious expression, he held onto a flag and shouted at the underworld dwellers below, "Kill them all. Not a single one. Kill." With that said, the immortals pounced down like a torrential flood. The underworld dwellers panicked, and in the midst of their panic, someone actually cried out, "Xian Wu. That's Xian Wu. He's not dead." Chapter 1233. The army of the Immortal Court was totally different from the army of the Immortal Court that was fighting with the Dark Dwellers. Each and every one of the army of the Immortal Court was ferocious and powerful. The Dark Dwellers didn't have any advantage over them. These Dark Dwellers were already exhausted after fighting with the Immortals below them. Now, they couldn't resist the army of the Immortal Court at all. In just a few moments, the battle formation of the Dark Dwellers was dispersed. The sudden arrival of the immortal soldiers made the Dark Dwellers panic. They didn't know what to do. The situation of the battlefield instantly became one-sided. Suyun's face was extremely ugly. He looked left and right, and finally found Flying Flames and 9 calamities who were protected by a large number of Underworld Realm elites. At that moment, the two of them were huddled together, slowly retreating out of the battlefield. However, the surrounding celestial soldiers seemed to have been stimulated at this moment. They rushed towards them crazily. After one batch of celestial soldiers was destroyed, another batch rushed up. Colorful immortal spells and nether spells flew in all directions, dyeing the dim nether river in a riot of colors. Damn it! What's going on? Why did the Immortal Court army have so many troops? Where did they get so many elites from? Flying Flames gritted his teeth and shouted angrily. Previously, when we fought, I realized that the immortal soldiers we fought were mostly uneven in strength. Some immortal soldiers had the power of immortals, while some immortals did not even have the cultivation of spirit profound immortal. If I'm not wrong, a portion of the immortals on this battlefield had been removed and replaced with some old and weak soldiers. The ones that were removed were the elites and were deliberately hidden at the side, waiting for an opportunity. The rest were used to numb us. We have long been on the side of the Immortal Court. 9 Disasters said in a deep voice. Flying Flames was shocked and said in a daze, "Then could it be that the Xian Wu that he killed before were all fake?" "Fake," 9 Disasters snorted and said coldly. "Have you not woken up yet?" After we appeared on the battlefield, he had completely disappeared. Even the underworld generals under his command didn't know where he had gone. This was already obvious. They were obviously people from the Immortal Court. That was why he launched a sneak attack. The reason why they sent out reinforcements is to lure us out so that the Immortal Court can exterminate us. WHAT? Flying Flame's face was deathly pale, and his lips were trembling. His eyes were trembling, and he couldn't believe what he was hearing. The Netherworld's Netherworld General. How is this possible? How could it be someone from the Immortal Court? Lord 9 Calamity. Don't spout nonsense. If that's the case, then the Netherworld will be finished. The Netherworld is finished. The 9 Disasters raised their heads and looked upwards, as if they were looking at something. When Flying Flame saw this, it looked over. However, with just a glance, it was dumbfounded. Then, they saw another person appear where Xian Wu was standing, and this person was someone they could not be more familiar with. It was He. I didn't expect that all of you would come out after my little trick. How foolish. He looked down at soaring flames and 9 Disasters with a smile on his face as he spoke in a clear voice. When the Dark Dwellers saw He, who was standing beside Xian Wu, they all panicked. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. He Ming General. What happened to He Ming General? Why is he standing next to Xian Wu? Did he seek refuge with the Immortal Court? How could this be? The Dark Dwellers cried out involuntarily. The news that he was from the Immortal Court spread everywhere, completely shattering the Dark Dwellers' confidence to continue fighting. They already didn't know what they should do next. Who are you? The 9 Disasters shouted angrily. I am He said calmly. Impossible. He is the Underworld General. Why would he betray the Netherworld and seek refuge with the Immortal Court? You are not He. Flying Flame's eyes were burning as he shouted. However, Chi had a carefree smile on his face. Why can't the underworld general betray the netherworld? Why can't he seek refuge with the immortal court? You are too naive. Chi's eyes were filled with an extremely carefree expression. Looking at the two people below, he smiled and said, "Actually, from the beginning, I had already planned to do this. You guys killed Lu Zhu, so I didn't plan on letting you guys have it easy. Although my strength is weak and I am not your opponent, it doesn't matter. I can borrow the strength of others." "So you're saying that you are like this because of Lu Zhu?" Nine Disasters narrowed his eyes. "Not exactly," Chi sneered. "Naturally, it is because the two of you don't plan to let me live. The two of you are in cahoots with each other. I have been cultivating wholeheartedly and have no intention of fighting for the power of the netherworld, but the two of you have been racking your brains to get rid of me. This time, if I don't cooperate with the immortal court to get rid of the two of you, I'm afraid that in the future, my soul will enter your cauldron and be refined by you." "Get rid of you? Humph. Isn't it because you have been going against us time and time again?" Nine Disasters said coldly. "Going against me is not considered going against me, right? You and Flying Flames thought that I was weak and thought that it would be better to divide me up than to merge with me. That's why you did this. Nine Disasters, Flying Flames, don't talk nonsense. Right now, the two of you are like turtles in a jar. This is outside Netherworld. There is no rich, deathly aura. The Dark Dwellers have no advantage in this battle. This Netherworld river will be your burial ground." Chi shouted and waved his hand. Xian Wu, who was beside him, immediately understood and rushed towards Nine Disasters and Flying Flames. He had not planned to hold back, and he would not hold back anymore. Since he had exposed himself, then this time, if he did not die, then it would be Flying Flames and Nine Disasters. "Retreat! Retreat!" Nine Disasters knew that the battle situation was not in their favor and immediately shouted. But he wanted to retreat, but how could Chi and Xian Wu let them leave just like that? Just as the two of them were about to leave, Xian Wu and Chi immediately rushed over and forcefully stopped the two of them. The two of them were helpless. They had no choice but to fight. Even if they wanted to leave, it would be difficult. Su Yun and Mo Jihua, who were far away, saw this and immediately rushed over. But halfway there, Su Yun stopped. "Su Yun, what are you waiting for? Quick, go help Nine Disasters and Flying Flames. We cannot let the two of them die." Mo Jihua anxiously shouted. But Su Yun shook his head and said indifferently, "Even if I save Flying Flames and Nine Disasters, I can't save the countless Dark Dwellers. The Celestial Court set up this trap. The goal was to eliminate the Dark Dwellers, not these two, because the death chi in the underworld is too much. It is too unique. If the Celestial Realm people enter the underworld to fight with the Dark Dwellers, they will definitely be at a disadvantage. To the Dark Dwellers, the death chi is a fatal weakness, but to the Dark Dwellers, it is a huge advantage. Even if the Celestial Court has the advantage in numbers, they may not be able to win against the underworld. On the contrary, if they can lure the snake out of its hole, gather and destroy it, then the situation will be different. The Celestial Court army will definitely be able to destroy the underworld with the least amount of losses." Mo Jihua listened in a daze. After a while, he secretly gritted his teeth and snorted. "Since it is so, then Su Yun, what do you plan to do? The Celestial Court army has already started killing. The underworld dwellers are unable to stop them. It is obvious that the underworld dwellers have lost. There is no way to turn the situation around. The two of us are powerless, but we still have to save the underworld dwellers. If these underworld dwellers are killed, the underworld dwellers will be extinguished. Then, even if your master comes, it will be useless. Then what do you want to do?" Mo Jihua was anxious. "Go find a commander of the Celestial Court army," Su Yun said with his eyes focused. "Xian Wu?" "No." Su Yun took a deep breath and said indifferently, "If you want to find someone, then find Lung Bai." "Lung Bai." "Miss Mo, the battlefield is dangerous. You should leave quickly. I will take care of Lung Bai. You do not need to interfere anymore. If anything happens to you, I will not be able to explain it to Senior Imperial Sword." Su Yun threw the order badge to Emojihua and said indifferently, "Now, quickly head to the entrance of the underworld dwellers. Gather all the underworld dwellers, support the battlefield, and cover the retreat of these underworld dwellers. Time is of the essence. If you delay by even a second, 100 underworld dwellers will die. Do you understand?" Emojihua stared blankly at Su Yun, and after a long while, he anxiously nodded. Su Yun was too lazy to explain anything else. The situation of the battlefield was changing in an instant. He anxiously turned around and rushed towards the Celestial Court army. In the midst of his charge, the Imperial battle robe was activated. The divine power covered his entire body. His body immediately became transparent. Like a whirlwind, he shot backwards. Xian Wu and Qi, he were fighting with flying flames and 9 calamities. But other than the two of them, there were many experts in the Celestial Court army. Su Yun rushed towards the place where the Celestial Court army was the most concentrated. He believed that Lung Bai would definitely personally come to the battlefield. If he could control Lung Bai, the situation would definitely change, but Lung Bai was surrounded by experts. It would be extremely difficult for him to take him down, but there was no other way. Whiz! Just as Su Yun was shuttling through the immortal weapons, a fiery red halberd suddenly shot out, directly smashing towards his face. Seeing that, Su Yun moved his arm. The dual moon sword blocked the fiery red halberd. Clang! The halberd was repelled. "Audacious underworld dweller, you still dare to enter this place? Kill!" The general holding the halberd bellowed and rushed towards Su Yun. Divine Wind Sword Technique. Su Yun bellowed and swung the dual moon sword crazily. The sword image was so fast that even the immortals could not catch it, and even the void could not react to it, as though it had become invisible. In the eyes of the bystanders, Su Yun's hand seemed to have been broken, as though it no longer existed, but that was only because it was fast to the extreme. He did not use much brute force. All of his strength was concentrated on the dance of his arms, causing his speed to be extremely fast. But the special nature of the dual moon sword caused every strike to be extremely destructive. In the blink of an eye, the body of the general holding the halberd stopped moving, as though it had been frozen. Su Yun directly passed through the general holding the halberd and rushed forward. The general holding the halberd was blown away by the wind, and his body collapsed like a collapsing mountain. His body had already been sliced into pieces. Chapter 1234. Su Yun's figure was exposed, and the surrounding immortal court experts immediately pulled out their sword from their waists and blocked Su Yun. However, Su Yun, who had the cultivation of the spirit profound god, was not someone these ordinary spirit profound immortals could contend against. Su Yun swept through the entire way like a hot knife through butter. The immortal court army could not do anything to him, and could only retreat. "What's going on? Who is that? How dare you come here alone to behave atrociously? Kill!" A few immortal court experts rushed out of the crowd and rushed towards Su Yun. The dense immortal qi was like a thick wall, rushing towards Su Yun. However, just as their immortal qi approached Su Yun, it disappeared without a trace. With the protection of the imperial battle robe, even though Su Yun was alone, he could fight against 1,000 soldiers. The more crowded the crowd, the more advantageous it was for him. The surrounding immortal qi was constantly replenishing the qi in his body. No matter how many immortal techniques he used, no matter how many magic treasures he used, he was unable to exhaust the immortal qi in his body. When the few immortal court experts got close to Su Yun, before they could even exchange a few blows, Su Yun had already absorbed all the immortal qi in their bodies and killed them. When the surrounding immortal court soldiers saw this, they became even more terrified. Who the hell was this person? What cultivation level? He was actually so powerful. It seems like only the Lord can subdue this person. I'm afraid that no matter how many of us go up, it will be useless. One of the immortal court experts saw that Su Yun was getting more and more courageous and intoxicated as he fought. He took a deep breath and shouted to the people beside him, "Quick! Quick! Go and invite Master Lung over. Let him quickly send experts to subdue this person. This person should have the cultivation of spirit profound God. He is not someone we can match. If Master does not send experts, I'm afraid that all the soldiers here will be killed by him." Hearing that, the man did not dare to delay. He immediately cupped his fists and ran away. Very quickly, a strong aura came from afar, pressing down on them. Su Yun frowned and used his chi to force away the surrounding immortal court soldiers. Looking over, he saw a man dressed in silver armor, holding onto a sword with both hands leaping towards Su Yun. This man was dressed like the fire mist sword immortal that Su Yun had fought with before, but his aura was even stronger than the fire mist sword immortal. He glanced at the man's waist. It seemed like this man was also sent from the army. The slender sword slashed down fiercely, the silver blade seeming as if it was going to split the river Styx beneath its feet. Su Yun did not forcefully receive it, but tried to absorb the dense sword chi on the blade. However, this sword chi did not seem to be driven by immortal chi, but rather forcefully produced sword chi by shaking the sword body. Seeing that, Su Yun immediately turned his body and dodged the sword. At the same time, he moved his arms and pushed his strength to the limit. The double moon sword fiercely smashed towards the slender silver sword. Dong! The blade hit the body of the sword. The slender blade seemed to have been flung away, along with the person who was holding onto the hilt. The immense force made it difficult for the silver-armored man to stabilize his body. When he finally stabilized his body, Su Yun had already rushed forward again. He did not follow up with another attack, as though he did not want to waste too much time on him. When the silver-armored man saw this, he flew into a rage. This was a blatant humiliation. However, from that sword strike, just now, he could sense that the man in black robes was extremely powerful. Even if he was a spirit profound god, he was still an upper echelon of the spirit profound god, and was not an ordinary person. The silver-armored man secretly clenched his teeth. Without any hesitation, he took out a round green plate and struck it on his chest. The moment the green plate entered his chest, it immediately melted and transformed into a clear spring that spread out and covered his body. In an instant, the silver armor on the man's body turned silver green, and the aura on his body also rose crazily. The man closed his eyes and quickly muttered something. At that moment, Su Yun was still moving forward, and no one interrupted him. After about 20 breaths of time, the aura around the man's body had already risen to an extremely terrifying realm. Based on his initial calculations, he was at least at the 4th stage of the spirit profound god, and the immortal weapons around him did not even dare to approach him. The silver-armored man's eyes also turned silver green. He took a deep breath, raised his sword, and rushed towards Su Yun again. This time, his speed was even faster, and his aura was even more ferocious. The immortal weapons on both sides were knocked away by him. "Don't underestimate me." Seeing Su Yun, who was still advancing forward, the silver-armored man growled. The sword in his hand was like a blooming flower, splitting out a large number of sword flowers, like a big mouth swallowing Su Yun. But just as the sword flower neared Su Yun, a cold light suddenly went around Su Yun's head and shot towards the center of the sword flower with lightning speed. The silver-armored man retreated a few steps, and the sword flower formed by the slender sword also withered in an instant. Looking closely, a bloody hole had appeared in his palm, and blood that contained a dense amount of immortal chi was flowing out from the bloody hole. The silver-armored man's eyes widened as he looked at the man with his back facing him in shock. He had used the plate of Saint Beasts to temporarily obtain the power of Saint Beasts, causing his cultivation to soar and his strength to rise to a frightening level. Yet, despite having his back facing him, not only did that fellow manage to nullify his attack, he even managed to injure him. What was his cultivation level? Why was it so terrifying? Why? The anger from before had disappeared without a trace and was replaced with fear and seriousness. He thought that Su Yun was just a 2nd or 3rd stage spirit profound god. But looking at it now, he was wrong, completely wrong. This guy was at least a 5th stage spirit profound god, because in front of his attack, all of his chi was unable to withstand it, and it was as if it existed in name only. Just what kind of existence is this guy? Underworld realm? Was there such a powerful existence among the underworld realm? No, I still need to inform the Lord. An existence above the fifth stage of spirit profound God is already beyond our ability to handle. The silver-armored man looked at Su Yun coldly and snorted. I'll let you be arrogant for a while. When the Lord comes, I'll let you know the methods of my immortal court. Immediately, the man wanted to retreat. But right at this moment, Su Yun, who was rushing forward, suddenly disappeared. The silver-armored man was startled for a moment. He anxiously looked around, only to feel a chill on his neck. Following that, the sky and earth spun. His entire body seemed to have lost all feeling. His vision became blurry, and in the process of spinning, he saw a headless body that seemed to be his own, crazily spraying out a pillar of blood. What? What? The silver-armored man reacted, but it was too late. The person he was chasing was currently standing behind the headless corpse, holding a sword in one hand, quietly looking at the falling head. On the battlefield of the river Styx, regardless of whether it was immortal or nether, once they died, their souls would be sucked into the river Styx the moment they left their bodies, making it difficult to preserve them. In other words, it was impossible for those who died here to revive. Their souls would turn into the water of the river Styx and stay here forever. Looking at the headless corpse, the immortal soldiers beside them were all dumbstruck. Everything that had happened just now was too sudden, to the point that they were unable to accept what had happened in front of them. The experts of the army had all been killed, so what could the rest of them use to fight against Su Yun? All of the immortal soldiers held onto their weapons and raised their hands, but their entire bodies were trembling, not daring to attack Su Yun in the slightest. He was like a god of war, standing in the middle of the crowd. No matter who it was, they could not muster up the courage to attack him. Su Yun looked around at the people around him, holding onto his sword with one hand. He walked forward. He took a step forward, and the people in front of him took a step back. All of them were extremely nervous, as if they were facing a great enemy. If the people of the immortal court are like this, then what's the point of the immortal court existing? He's just one person. Even if he's strong, so what? Just go ahead. He can't be a bottomless pit. Sooner or later, his immortal chi will be used up. At this moment, a grand voice came from the back of the army, followed by a few figures rushing over. Su Yun looked over. It was the person in charge of the Immortal Realm army, and the person in the lead was Lung Bai. He was dressed in a loose robe, had the demeanor of an immortal, and was extremely free and at ease. The moment he landed, the chi field that was already under Su Yun's control was immediately torn open. When the surrounding immortal court soldiers saw the person who had appeared, their uneasy hearts immediately calmed down, and their trembling bodies also calmed down. He was like a reassurance pill, causing these fearful and hesitant people of the immortal court to no longer be afraid and hesitant. He was like the most reliable existence, causing these people's hearts to surge with boundless courage. When Lung Bai appeared, not only was Su Yun not nervous at all, he even heaved a sigh of relief. Seeing Su Yun's slight change, Lung Bai felt that something was amiss. He frowned and said, "You don't have any death aura on you, but instead have a trace of extremely obscure devil chi. Who are you?" "True Devil Realms Demon Lord," Su Yun said indifferently. "True Devil Realms Demon Lord?" Lung Bai's face was filled with astonishment. The true Devil Realms Demon Lord actually has such powerful strength. "You're Lung Bai, right? You came all the way here just to see me?" Lung Bai said calmly. "Do you want to kill me, Your Excellency?" Although the underworld devils had joined hands to fight against the immortal court army, the underworld dwellers had already been defeated, and the devil dwellers were too weak to be a match for our immortal court army. Although you are powerful, it is impossible for you to defeat our immortal court army. If you are tactful and obediently surrender with your strength, I will definitely be able to get you a position in the immortal court army and guarantee your safety. "Oh, is that so?" Su Yun was unmoved and said indifferently, "If you want to surrender, that's fine too. If you can guarantee that I will go to the immortal court to be the president, then I can consider the suggestion of surrendering." "How dare you?" Lung Bai was furious and immediately shouted, Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. You should be the one who refuses a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit, right? Su Yun secretly snorted. He actually raised his sword and rushed towards Lung Bai. Time was of the essence. He did not plan to waste any time. Chapter 1235. Bastard. Lung Bai was enraged. Although he knew that Su Yun was strong, he never thought that not only was he strong, he was even more daring. He actually dared to attack him alone. Did he not know his current situation? Or did he think that he could contend against him with his own methods? Lung Bai's expression gradually turned cold. He did not hold back at all, and directly waved his hand and shouted, "Capture this person!" "Yes, sir." The experts behind Lung Bai immediately rushed towards Su Yun. 4 pentagonal star arrays immediately appeared around Su Yun's body, and these arrays actually had the patterns of the 4 holy beasts. After they appeared, they frantically flashed within the array, and these star arrays immediately shot out thread-like energy, which seemed to be immortal chi, but was different from immortal chi. Although the divine power of the Imperial Battle Robe could absorb it, the amount that was spat out was simply too large, and it could not be completely absorbed. When this power approached Su Yun, it immediately wrapped around his body and tied him up. After that, he felt an unknown power start to bind his mind, wanting to trap his soul. This power was very strong, and if he did not pay attention, he would definitely be defeated. Su Yun secretly snorted. Without using any techniques or immortal chi, he dragged his body and directly crashed into the array. Pow! When his body collided with one of the arrays, the divine power of the Imperial Battle Robe immediately messed up the internal structure of the array, causing it to shatter. Pow! 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 Just like before, all 4 arrays were broken by Su Yun. When the experts of the Immortal Realm army saw that Su Yun did not use any immortal chi and broke through the array so easily, all of them revealed looks of shock. Since this person dares to charge here alone, he must have some ability. Everyone, don't be careless. Surround him and attack. A white-haired old man held onto a walking stick and looked at Su Yun with a serious expression. This person's cultivation cannot be at the peak of Spirit God. The reason why he was able to break our array is most likely because of his magic treasure. Everyone, I will go and restrain his magic treasure. You guys break his chi meridian. Let's see how he can still be so arrogant. A red-haired lady jumped out with a gem in her hand. The gem shattered in her palm and turned into specks of starlight that scattered towards Su Yun. It was as if the night sky was covering him. Su Yun frowned and immediately pushed his speed to the limit, easily dodging the attack. He's too fast. Immortal Frost, hurry up and slow him down. The red-haired woman shouted. Yes. A man with blue hair and blue eyebrows replied loudly. He waved his hands, and 2 gusts of wind mixed with ice and snow came out from his wide robe, fiercely blowing towards Su Yun. Su Yun raised both of his arms, wanting to urge his chi to block, but the ice and snow wind was too fast. Su Yun's body was immediately covered by a large amount of ice and frost. This ice and frost was not ordinary ice and frost. The immortal chi inside each ice flower was enough to make ordinary spirit cultivator view it as a treasure. To dispel it, it would take more than an instant. Very good. The red-haired lady seized the opportunity and pushed with both of her hands, causing the starlight that was like the night sky to strike Su Yun's body. Seeing that, Su Yun immediately activated his divine power, wanting to disperse the starlight, but when it was added to his body, the divine power in his body suddenly dropped. Seeing that, Su Yun was stunned. But very quickly, he understood that although the Imperial Battle Robe was a divine object, the immortals he was facing were all top experts of the immortal world. They had cultivated for so many years and comprehended for so many years. How could they not have any treasures on them? It was not rare for the Imperial Battle Robe to be restrained. If he continued to rely on the Imperial Battle Robe, he would not be far from death. He secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Looking at the experts of the immortal world rushing over from all directions, his eyes suddenly turned blood red. He released the sword in his hand and forcefully activated his chi to control it. The broken star light sealed most of the magic treasure on his body, including the imperial battle robe. But Suyun did not rely on many magic treasure. He mostly relied on the sword in his hand, and the sword sheath behind him. Whiz! The moment the double moon sword left his hand, it flew out like a shooting star and began to revolve around him. The sword chi on the sword's body overflowed crazily as it revolved, forming a whirlwind of sword chi around his body. Seeing this, the experts of the Immortal World Army immediately changed their attacks and used long-range techniques to attack. However, this sword chi whirlwind style blocked most of the spells, and only a few of them struck Suyun's body. But these attacks did not cause much damage to Suyun. He was still full of energy, but on the contrary, the opponent's round of attacks gave Suyun chance. A cold light flashed past his eyes. His speed once again increased. The double moon sword suddenly returned to his palm, and like a dragon, he rushed towards the blue-haired, blue-browed man. The man had been waving his robe the entire time, wanting to slow down Suyun's speed, but Suyun's sudden counterattack caught him off guard, and before he could even dodge, the double moon sword had already pierced through his chest. Bang! The sword power on the sword exploded, and the blue-haired, blue-browed man retreated a few steps. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face was extremely pale. Right now, he had to concentrate on dealing with one person. Otherwise, the opponent's advantage in numbers would never be changed. He stared at the blue-browed, blue-haired man, and the double moon sword once again smashed forward. The man's face changed drastically. Enduring the pain in his chest, he retreated in panic. Be careful. Quickly subdue this person. Quick! The rest of the experts rushed over, wanting to stop Suyun, but Suyun's speed was too fast. Even with their numbers, they could not do anything to him. Under Suyun's lightning-fast attack, the double moon sword was like a death god's scythe. After the blue-haired, blue-browed man ran for a while, he had no way out, and his entire body fell into a desperate situation. He felt a cold breeze on his back, as if the double moon sword was already close to his back. It's over, the blue-haired, blue-browed man cried out. But, at this critical moment, a figure suddenly flashed in front of him, and then an indescribable astral wind blew. Clang! The blue-haired, blue-browed man was startled for a moment. He felt the chill on his back suddenly disappear. He raised his head and looked back, only to see that the commander of the Immortal Realm Army, Lung Bai, who was standing extremely far away, had unknowingly stood behind him. He raised one hand high and actually grabbed the double moon sword that Suyun had slashed down. Lord Lung, the blue-haired, blue-browed man cried out in surprise. All of you step down. I will personally subdue this person. Lung Bai looked at Suyun with disdain and said indifferently. When the surrounding experts heard this, they did not dare to disobey. They cupped their fists and nodded. Yes, sir. Lung Bai waved his hand slightly and pushed the double moon sword back. Suyun held onto his sword and retreated, staring at Lung Bai, his heart filled with suspicions. Without a doubt, Lung Bai's strength was definitely not weak. Compared to the previous leader of the military group, he was not much weaker. If he wanted to defeat Lung Bai, it would not be easy without using the Devil Saint's Devil Soul. Suyun held onto the sword in his hand tightly and snorted inwardly. The devil chi in his body suddenly erupted, and an indescribable and enormous power rose up from his body. In the blink of an eye, his cultivation had already risen to the peak of the spirit god realm. Sensing this abnormality, the surrounding experts of the Immortal Realm Army and Lung Bai all revealed astonished expressions. Peak strength. Is this the peak of strength? Lung Bai's eyes widened. In the blink of an eye, a person had already stood at the peak of the world. How could he not be shocked? Your aura tends to lean towards toughness, and your immortal chi is domineering and powerful. Even though you've been restraining yourself, giving others the illusion that you're gentle, it's actually just a facade. Just now, you withstood my sword strike, which proves everything. However, I don't know if you can withstand my next strike. Suyun said indifferently, but his eyes seemed to be filled with blood. The baleful aura accompanied the aura that rushed out from his body and surged in all directions. At this moment, What was flowing in his chi meridian was no longer immortal chi, but a terrifying devil chi. The power of the immortal devil in his hands was simply shocking. Just what kind of existence is this? To be able to perfectly control and fuse the power of the immortal devil? Lung Bai's eyes congealed. The contempt he had before had long disappeared. He touched his waist, and a blue light appeared. He struck towards the blue light with both of his hands, and the blue light perfectly covered his fists. He quickly chanted something, and then his body immediately moved, transforming into thousands of shadows that surrounded Su Yun. Su Yun raised his head and saw that the entire sky was filled with Lung Bai's shadow. He punched towards Su Yun, and thousands of fist shadows crazily smashed towards his head, as though they wanted to beat him into a meat patty. Su Yun was not afraid in the slightest. He raised his sword and struck upwards. The sword shadows overlapped. The divine wind sword technique was activated with all its might, and the thousands of sword blades directly welcomed the thousands of fists. Bang! 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 The blade of the sword and the tip of the fist collided, causing a violent explosion. The auras of the two interweaved like a destructive wind, continuously blowing and spreading. This power even directly attacked the River Styx battlefield below. The people fighting on the River Styx were all affected, and some of them were even killed by the destructive wind. The experts of the Immortal Realm army kept retreating. This power exceeded their own chi. Even if they tried to defend themselves, it would be futile. In the face of a battle between experts of this level, it was extremely difficult for them to watch from the sidelines, let alone participate in it. Besieging them might not be effective. If they were not careful, they would be more of a hindrance than a help. After a round of fighting, the aura gradually dissipated. Su Yun kept his sword and Lung Bai kept his fist. However, Su Yun's face was calm, as though he did not suffer any losses. On the other hand, Lung Bai was panting heavily, his eyes were slightly open, as though his physical strength was lacking. If one looked carefully, they would be able to see that on the back of his two shiny fists, there were actually two dim sword imprints. These two dim sword imprints were left behind by the double moon sword. Chapter 1236. Seeing Lung Bai's state, the experts of the Immortal World Army were all shocked. Could it be that even Lord Lung Bai could not subdue this person? Just then, Su Yun's body suddenly disappeared, and he rushed towards Lung Bai again. From the looks of it, he wanted to kill Lung Bai. Lung Bai was the commander of the Immortal World Army. If he died, the Alliance Army of the Immortal World, which was composed of dozens of immortal sects and the Immortal Court Army, would inevitably collapse. The Alliance Army was not stable to begin with. Without a leader, it would inevitably become a plate of loose sand. It was easy for the underworld dwellers to deal with a plate of loose sand. Too arrogant. Facing Su Yun's aggressiveness, the anger in Lung Bai's heart soared. He raised his fist and fiercely punched towards Su Yun. The immortal chi that erupted from the tip of his fist seemed to be able to pierce through a planet. As his fist fell, it smashed onto the tip of Su Yun's sword. Su Yun held the sword hilt tightly with both hands and fiercely pushed forward. His arms trembled slightly, and he could feel that Lung Bai had already used his full strength. Eat my fist. Heaven and earth annihilation. At this time, Lung Bai roared. The hard fist that was stuck to the sword body burst out with 1,000 rays of light. Within the light, 1,000 beasts' reincarnation seal appeared, but when the 1,000 beasts were still reincarnating, they suddenly disappeared, transforming into a domineering aura mixed with resentment and anger, spreading towards the sword body. Su Yun snorted in anger. He felt that although his brute force could fight against Lung Bai, it would not be easy to suppress him. So he immediately retracted his sword and retreated, temporarily avoiding the fist aura. Don't run. Seeing Su Yun retreat, Lung Bai felt that he had the chance to gain the upper hand and immediately pressed forward, throwing out 3 punches. Each punch was like 100 flowers blooming, 1,000 trees branching, and 10,000 spirits reviving, forming a stark contrast with the previous punch that could destroy the heaven and earth. Su Yun's finger moved slightly, releasing the immortal devil chi. forming a thick shield in front of him. The three-fist winds attacked and struck the immortal devil shield, barely breaking it, but they were unable to harm Su Yun at all. How is this possible? Seeing that his confident punch was easily blocked by Su Yun, Lung Bai was shocked. In fact, Lung Bai had overestimated himself. He could not even gain any advantage against Su Yun. So how could he gain the upper hand? In the immortal court, if they did not send an expert at the peak of the spirit profound god to deal with Su Yun, no one else would be able to do anything to him. Lord Lung Bai, everything is ended, Su Yun said indifferently, then suddenly kept the dual moon sword in his hands, moved his arms, and leaped into the air, his body releasing a dazzling red light. The red light rippled throughout the world, like a red sun rising into the sky. The entire true devil realm was illuminated by the red light. Lung Bai and the experts from the immortal world hurriedly circulated their qi to resist the dazzling light. However, they heard a resounding dragon roar coming from within the light. Then, the dragon might spread out and added to their bodies. These people actually had a feeling of wanting to worship the red light. It wasn't just them. The people in the underworld river below were already like this. They realized that they couldn't resist this draconic might at all. One by one, they stopped fighting and cowed out. What was going on? Lung Bai turned pale with fright. His eyes widened as he stared at the red light and cried out involuntarily, "True dragon! A true dragon! This is a real divine dragon." He was extremely familiar with this dragon's might, because he was fortunate enough to have seen the divine dragon clan before. He had seen the powerful forces that stood at the peak of the immortal world, and even the immortal court did not dare to restrain them too much. Could it be that this person was not an immortal, nor was he a devil, but a real divine dragon? Impossible. Lung Bai did not believe it, but if he did not believe it, then what was this person? Roar. The dragon's roar shook the heavens and the earth. The red light gradually dispersed. The majestic body within the red light slowly appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The experts of the immortal world army were already dumbstruck. Their eyes seemed to be glued to something as they stared blankly at the gradually dimming red light. Behind the red light, a gigantic dragon that blotted out the sky appeared in everyone's line of sight. This dragon seemed to cover the sky, connecting the north and south. It was extremely huge. Its body was tens of thousands of feet long, and it had 4 claws but no horns. Its eyes were like the sun and moon, and scales covered its body neatly, yet it was like mountains and rivers. On its back, there was actually a pair of extremely exaggerated gigantic wings. It was completely different from the other divine dragons, and its every move seemed to be able to pull the heavens. What kind of majestic and divine giant dragon was this? This is? Lung Bai's gaze fell on the head of the giant dragon, and found that its horns were all broken. Such a huge divine dragon should at least have 8 claws, but it still only had 4. Its entire body was filled with a sense of madness, a madness that dared to tear the heavens and challenge the common people. Is this a divine dragon? The immortal world army beside him asked in shock. No, this is not just a divine dragon. Lung Bai growled. If I remember correctly, this is a traitor that has been wanted by the Divine Dragon Clan and the Divine Eagle Clan for 10,000 years. Traitor dragon! Traitor dragon! Hearing these 2 words, the experts present felt their hearts jump. They had obviously heard of the legend of the traitor dragon, but who would have thought that today they would actually see this legendary existence? The traitor dragon is a dragon, but this person is the demon lord of the true devil realm. How can the 2 be confused? If the demon lord of the true devil realm is not the incarnation of the traitor dragon, then we can be sure that the one in front of us is just a trick. It is not the true body of the traitor dragon. At this time, the people beside him spoke up and raised their doubts. However, his doubts were immediately refuted by Lung Bai. What kind of trick can even imitate the might of a dragon? Everyone, the traitor dragon is wanted by the Divine Dragon Clan and the Divine Eagle Clan. Since the other party dares to use this form to fight with us, then there is no doubt that the other party does not plan to let us go. Today, either it dies or we die. Everyone, let's attack together and do our best. Lung Bai roared. Yes. Everyone rushed over and stood beside Lung Bai. Lung Bai's words were not wrong. The current Su Yin did not plan to let these people go. Since their positions were different, then they should be prepared to bear the consequences of standing on the wrong side. He drove the huge body of the traitor dragon and flew towards Lung Bai. The huge dragon claw descended from the sky and directly toward the space where Lung Bai was. The void immediately began to distort. The people around Lung Bai were quick to react and hurriedly dodged, narrowly avoiding this calamity. However, the blue-haired, blue-browed man was unable to dodge in time due to his injuries. His body was directly torn apart by the distorted void, and even his soul was shattered. What? Seeing this scene, Lung Bai turned pale with fright. What a powerful, destructive power. Even the void could not withstand it. This traitor dragon definitely had the power to destroy the world. Su Yin once again urged the traitor dragon's body, opened his mouth, and let out a loud dragon roar. The roar turned into a shockwave that crazily struck the bodies of the immortals. They wanted to use their immortal chi to defend, but they discovered that the dense immortal chi they had just gathered had instantly dissipated. Great image world, look at my magic treasure, heaven and earth reversal. Reverse the 9 streams. Don't be so arrogant. The immortals could no longer hold it in. One by one, they took out their magic treasures and attacked Su Yin. However, the extremely dazzling spells burst out and fiercely struck the traitor dragon's body, but they were unable to cause him any harm. This was a completely different level of battle. Lung Bai realized that the current Su Yin had already surpassed the peak of the spirit god realm. He had already reached a height that even he did not know. Suddenly, the extremely huge traitor dragon twisted its body and swung its huge dragon tail crazily. A force that seemed to distort the sky formed on the tail. As it swung, it fiercely slapped towards Lung Bai. Lung Bai hurriedly took out a round mirror like magic treasure and activated it. The mirror on the round mirror immediately shattered, and with a leap, he hid inside the mirror. The rest of the people tried to dodge, but it was too late. The traitor dragon's tail was too huge and too fast. Without exception, all of them were struck by the traitor dragon's tail. Their bodies and souls instantly turned into particles, and they died on the spot. With a swing of its tail, it had eliminated countless experts. This kind of strength was enough to crush the battlefield. Damn it! Lung Bai, who had jumped out of the mirror, saw this terrifying scene and knew that it was impossible for him to subdue this huge divine dragon. He was secretly annoyed, and without any hesitation, he directly took off the order badge on his waist and crushed it. After the order badge shattered, it turned into powder that rippled in his palm. As he quickly waved his arm, it quickly formed a huge door of light. Seeing that, Su Yin, who had transformed into a traitor dragon, was secretly shocked. He immediately raised his claws and struck towards the door of light. However, the door of light was like mist. When the claws struck it, they directly passed through and could not be destroyed at all. You are very strong. I don't know who you are, but I only know one thing. That is, no matter how strong you are no match for my immortal court's vice president. Today is not the day of my, Lung Bai's death, but the day of yours. Lung Bai's eyes were cold as he panted and growled. His words entered Su Yun's ears without missing a single word. Su Yun's heart immediately jumped a few times. Vice President of the Immortal Court? Could this door be the door to summon the Vice President of the Immortal Court? As expected, after the door was formed, the inside of the door flickered with golden light. Vaguely, a figure appeared inside the door. The moment this figure appeared, Su Yun's enormous dragon might immediately weaken by a few points. If it was the Vice President of the Immortal Court, even Su Yun, who was in the form of a traitor dragon, would not be a match for him. No, if the Vice President of the Immortal Court participated in the battle, then the situation would be different. Su Yun focused his dragon eyes and looked at Lung Bai. This kind of door that could allow such a powerful person to pass through, even if it was a magic treasure, was definitely not easy to activate. At this time, Lung Bai must have reached his limit, and it was the best time to kill him. Immediately, Su Yun swayed his dragon body and rushed towards Lung Bai before the vice president could cross over. Chapter 12:37. How dare you? The vice president behind the light door sensed Su Yun's intentions and immediately shouted angrily. His voice was like a sound wave that spread out in all directions, and those who heard the voice were restrained by an irresistible and mysterious power. Their souls involuntarily accepted the sound wave, and they became somewhat unable to control themselves. The body of the traitorous dragon that Su Yun was controlling involuntarily paused for a moment. Seeing that, Lung Bai immediately turned and retreated. Since the vice president was about to arrive at the battlefield, then there was no need for him to continue fighting with Su Yun. With the strength of the vice president of the Immortal Court, dealing with this person would be a piece of cake. You want to kill me? It's not that easy. Lung Bai suddenly took out a copper-colored round cake and crushed it. In an instant, a gigantic sundial appeared behind him. Just as Su Yun drove the traitorous dragon's body closer, he discovered that his body had become extremely slow when he got closer to the sundial, as though there was a layer of invisible frost around him, preventing him from moving forward. No, it wasn't frost. It was filled with the aura of time. Could it be that the flow of time had slowed down? Su Yun looked at the sundial with his huge dragon eyes and discovered that the sundial was overflowing with light, like sunlight. Lung Bai stood in the center of the sundial, his eyes closed as he chanted. From the looks of it, it was because of the magic treasure. Su Yun secretly clenched his teeth. He tried his best to move his body and headed towards the sundial, but no matter how much strength he used, he was unable to make his body enter faster, and even the divine power of the Imperial Battle Robe was unable to eliminate the strange power of time. Although the traitorous dragon's body was incomparably huge, Lung Bai was extremely far away from him. At this speed, if he wanted to get close to Lung Bai, he would have to spend at least 100 breaths of time. If this continued, the vice president would have already passed through the door. Very good, Lung Bai. Retreat to the side and wait for me to take this person down. The vice president inside the light door noticed that Lung Bai had successfully restrained Su Yun, nodded, and said indifferently, then used all his strength to advance outside the light door. Hearing that, Lung Bai opened his eyes and looked at Su Yun, who wanted to enter but could not. A playful smile flashed past his eyes. Let's see what you can do this time. You can't kill me, and you can't do anything to the vice president. Right now, you're like a turtle in a jar, waiting to be captured. Lung Bai muttered to himself and increased the activation of the sundial treasure, causing Su Yun's speed to slow down. My current state is extremely powerful. Although you have this treasure to trap me, I believe that you won't be able to hold on for too long, right? Just then, Su Yun suddenly spoke to Lung Bai. Lung Bai was startled. He did not understand what Su Yun meant, but he quickly sneered and snorted. Even if I can't hold on for a long time, so what? In less than 50 breaths of time, Lord Presiding Judge will be able to leap through the door. Once he enters this realm, it will be your time of death. Yet, you have to spend nearly 100 breaths of time to get close to me. In my current state, I can last for 200 breaths of time. That's enough. Not enough. Just then, Su Yun suddenly shook his head. It's far from enough. What do you mean? Lung Bai's expression changed. However, at this moment, a fiery red crack suddenly appeared in the bright sky. This crack was like a fiery red lightning bolt that tore through the sky. After the lightning bolt appeared, the temperature of the entire cold netherworld river suddenly rose. All the clouds in the sky were ignited. Around the fiery red crack, 9 huge blazing suns appeared. The blazing suns revolve around a lightning bolt at high speed. The temperature inside the lightning-like crack became higher and higher, hotter and hotter. Not long after, a figure suddenly flashed inside the crack. What? The person inside the door of light let out a startled cry. What's that? Lung Bai was also extremely startled. He looked at the crack and cried out involuntarily. However, the vice president did not have time to answer Lung Bai. As he stepped out of the door of light, he stared at Su Yun and shouted, I can smell your aura. The person who caused havoc in the Immortal Court was you. Who exactly are you? Who I am is not important. What's important is that I only belong to myself, not the immortal court. The immortal court cannot control me. My freedom belongs only to me. Su Yun bellowed, and at that moment, he rushed towards Lung Bai like a madman. All living beings in the myriad realms should belong to the immortal court. Only under the leadership of the immortal court can all living beings be sublimated and obtain true freedom. We are the masters of the myriad realms. If you insist on doing things your own way, you will only go astray. We must lead you. The vice president's voice became solemn. He looked at the door of light and saw a hand and a leg stretching out. And from the fiery red crack in the sky, a slender red hand covered in rocks also stretched out. The hand grabbed the edge of the crack and exerted a little force, causing the crack to widen. Following that, a terrifying face appeared in the center of the crack. What is this? Lung Bai had never seen such a thing before. When he saw that fiery red and ferocious face, goosebumps rose all over his body. The other party was not targeting him at all, but with just a glance at the other party, he felt an invisible pressure assaulting him. Holy fire devil! At this moment, the vice president's deep and firm voice came from inside the door of light. I never thought that after being in Nirvana for so long, such an unexpected existence would appear in the myriad realms. Do you know me? Or have we met before? The holy fire devil's gloomy laughter came from the other side of the crack. The voice was extremely terrifying, causing people to tremble in fear. It was a stark contrast to its scorching heat. You might not know, but I have indeed seen you before. I never thought that I would fight with you today. The vice president extended his hand again. At this moment, he had already leaped over with half of his body. Lung Bai's heart thumped when he heard that. Although he didn't know what kind of existence the holy fire fiend was, he could tell from the vice president's words that the being that was about to arrive was no ordinary being. Even the vice president might not be able to defeat it easily. If the vice president could not quickly deal with this incoming existence, his own life would probably be in danger. In order to stall Su Yun, Lung Bai had used his own source energy and activated the sundial magic treasure without holding back. The current him did not have much immortal power left in his body, so wanting to contend against Su Yun was simply a pipe dream. Lung Bai stared at the light over there, and then looked at the fiery red crack above him. The only thing that could give him hope was that the vice president would come out a step faster than the strange existence called the Holy Fire Devil. Persevere. I have to persevere. Lung Bai clenched his teeth and stared at Su Yun. He believed that with the vice president's strength, killing Su Yun would only take a moment. As long as Su Yun died, his threat would be completely removed, and he would no longer have to worry about anything. The Holy Fire Devil would definitely not dare to fight with the vice president for a long time. Lung Bai's judgment was indeed correct. When half of the Holy Fire Devil's body barely came out from the crack, the vice president only had half of his body left in the door of light. At this speed, the vice president would probably come out in less than 20 breaths. Umph! The vice president stared at Su Yun, who was still heading towards Lung Bai, and snorted coldly. At this moment, Su Yun also reacted. If he continued to head towards Lung Bai and ignored the vice president, he would definitely be killed by the other party. Su Yun took a deep breath and stopped. He turned his huge dragon body and looked at the vice president, who had almost jumped out of the door of light. His dragon eyes were filled with seriousness. Whoosh! His body released waves of black light, and the state of the traitorous dragon disappeared, returning to the state of the black cloak. He held the sword with one hand, and the power of the Devil's Saint and Devil Soul still circled around his body. Although it hasn't been long since you managed to escape last time, your cultivation has actually made such a huge breakthrough. I don't know what kind of fortuitous encounter you had, but if you're not eliminated, you will definitely be a huge threat to the Immortal Court in the future. Today, no one can protect you. You must die. The vice president pulled his left leg out of the door of light. This was the last part of him. The moment he jumped out of the door of light, the door immediately dimmed and dissipated. Seeing this scene, the Holy Fire Devil above was a little anxious. Brat, be careful. This guy is not easy to deal with. Hold on and wait for me to come out and take care of him. Don't worry, Senior. Although I'm not his match, I'll think of a way to stall him. Su Yun said indifferently. He raised the double moon sword in his hand and aimed the tip of the sword at the vice president. You're simply courting death. With just you? The vice president snorted and rushed towards Su Yun. Seeing that, Su Yun immediately put on an expression as if he was about to attack, his expression full of concentration. However, the moment he put on this posture, the power of time that was restraining him suddenly disappeared. Immediately after, a shocking chill surged from his back. Lung Bai had launched his attack. Just as Su Yun's attention was attracted by the vice president, he decisively launched a sneak attack. Die! The corner of Lung Bai's mouth raised into a sinister smile, his eyes filled with a complacent smile. But, just as he launched a sneak attack on Su Yun, who was still facing the vice president, suddenly disappeared. This blade of immortal energy, which was activated by his last breath, instantly missed. Idiot! What are you doing? The vice president shouted anxiously, but it was too late. When Su Yun's figure appeared again, he was already standing beside Lung Bai. This speed was so fast that it was hard for anyone to react. It turned out that Su Yun's attention had always been on Lung Bai. The reason why he had turned around to face the vice president was to lure Lung Bai into launching a sneak attack. He knew that he could not kill the vice president, and it would be difficult for him to even injure him. Therefore, as long as he could get rid of Lung Bai, that would be the way of the king. Lung Bai knew his identity, so he had to get rid of him. If the vice president of the Immortal Court found out about his true identity, then the true Devil Realm would never have a peaceful day, and he would have a lot of trouble in the future. Now, there was a chance. Chapter 1238. Puchi. The sharp twin moon swords instantly sliced through Lung Bai's neck. Fresh blood spurted out from the tip of the sword, splashing onto Su Yun's pitch-black robe, as though blood-red roses had bloomed on the robe. Lung Bai's head spun a few times in the air, then fell straight down into the Netherworld River. His body twitched a few times, and the sundial behind him shattered like a crumbling grain of sand. Lung Bai's headless corpse also fell straight down. The commander of the Immortal Court army was directly beheaded. The Immortal Realm army below looked up, all of them shocked, and their morale instantly collapsed. Even the commander was killed. The situation was beyond everyone's imagination. However, even if the commander was beheaded, it would not change the situation in a short period of time, because the people of the underworld were already defeated and everyone was retreating towards the secret passage. Furthermore, an even more powerful figure had appeared from the light door, and his existence was enough to replace Lung Bai's position. Everyone, do not panic, continue to fight, and kill all the people of the underworld. Leave none alive. Xian Wu immediately broke away from the 9 disasters, flew up into the sky, and shouted loudly. He knew that now was not the time to deal with the 9 disasters and flying flames. An accident had occurred, and Lung Bai was killed. He had to quickly regroup everything and adjust the morale. If not, the entire army would collapse. Seeing that Xian Wu was still around, the Immortal Court army's panicked hearts were finally under control. The Immortal Court army still had the advantage, and immediately obeyed Xian Wu's orders, and continued to chase after the people of the underworld. Flying Flames took the opportunity when Xian Wu left and immediately rushed towards the 9 disasters. The two of them worked together and forced Qi He to retreat and directly escaped into the distance. Master Xian Wu, why aren't you chasing? Qi stared at Xian Wu and asked in a low voice. Master Qi He, look. Xian Wu pointed in a direction. Qi turned his head to look and saw Lung Bai's body falling into the river Styx. Water splashed up and engulfed his body. Seeing this, Qi's face turned pale. His lips trembled a few times as he said in a trembling voice, Lord Lung Bai is dead? Since Lord Lung has died, then Flying Flames and the 9 disasters are no longer important. I must take up the responsibility of leading the army and continue to defeat the Dark Dwellers. Don't worry, Lord Qi He. The Dark Dweller's strength has been completely destroyed. Just relying on flying flames and the 9 disasters is not enough. Our main goal this time is to eliminate the Dark Dweller's strength, not to specifically deal with flying flames and the 9 disasters. Although Lord Lung has died, before he died, he invited the Vice President. With the Vice President here, I'm afraid that even if the Imperial Underworld Sword comes, we won't have to be afraid. Xian Wu said. He was still a little surprised. Normally, this kind of matter wouldn't alarm the Vice President. He had never thought that Lung Bai would be so influential that even the Vice President would be invited. In this way, this battle would be a sure win. Seeing that, Qi didn't say anything else. He turned his head and looked up. Lung Bai had been killed, and Su Yun actually wanted to destroy his soul. Lung Bai's soul was different from ordinary immortals. It was especially strong. Even the death Qi of the River Styx could not erase it. But how could the Vice President let him succeed? He directly attacked Su Yun. As soon as he moved, the surrounding space immediately distorted. It was as if a stone had been thrown into a calm lake, causing ripples to appear. His aura was released. Su Yun instantly felt that he couldn't breathe. His heart seemed to have stopped and his body stiffened. Not good. He clenched his teeth and used all his strength to control the dual moon sword in his hands and attacked the incoming light. The dual moon sword's sword intent was released. Its destructive power exploded along with the sword's body and fiercely struck the light. However, within the light, there was also an extremely terrifying power. This power was countless times stronger than Su Yun's after the twin moon sword's blessing. Su Yun's arm was directly shaken to the point of numbness, and he also retreated. Brat, don't fight him head-on. You're not his match at all. Think of a way to escape. I'm almost out. The holy demon Flame shouted loudly from the crack above. At this moment, he only had 1 foot left in the crack. Su Yun squinted his eyes and looked at the approaching Vice President, his eyes flashing with a cold light. Indeed, fighting with such an expert was an unwise choice. Su Yun did not know how much his cultivation had surpassed the peak of the spirit god realm, and there were very few people who knew. Facing this kind of life and death battle, meeting such a person, he would naturally hide as far as he could, but Su Yun unexpectedly discovered that even though he had no chance of winning, and might even lose his life, he had never thought of escaping. It wasn't that he wasn't afraid of death, but that he didn't want to escape. For some reason, he really wanted to continue fighting with a powerhouse like the Vice President. He really wanted to be able to receive 1 or 2 moves from him. Such a powerhouse was not something that could be encountered every time. Such a powerhouse was not something that everyone could fight against. Su Yun was afraid of the strong, but he also yearned for the strong. After being defeated last time, although he knew that this was destined to happen, he was still unwilling. He knew that this time he had no chance of winning against the Vice President, but he longed for it. At the very least, he wanted to last a little longer than last time. Sometimes, people always have an impulse. This impulse is not a moment of confusion in the brain, but a restlessness that comes from the depths of the heart. Immortals can suppress it, but I don't want to suppress it. No matter what kind of blood flows in my body, no matter what identity I have now, at least I know that I am a human. Su Yun's eyes suddenly turned blood red. He stared at the Vice President who was rushing over, the double moon sword in his hands tightly clenched, and growled, "I'm different from you guys." With that said, he did not dodge and instead charged towards the Vice President again. The immortal Qi, divine power, and devil Qi all erupted from his body, without holding back at all. His entire body was wrapped in 3 different colors, and like a meteor that did not look back, he streaked across the dark sky and smashed towards the Vice President. How dare you? Seeing that not only did Su Yun not escape, but he was even charging towards him, the Vice President was furious. His voice exploded out, shaking the sky. Feeling that he had been completely humiliated, he no longer held back. From within the halo that wrapped around him, a huge hand of light extended out and fiercely grabbed toward Su Yun. However, just as the hand approached Su Yun, it was shattered by Su Yun, who had staked everything on this one throw. Bastard, do you really think you are someone? In my eyes, you are no different from an ant. A large number of hands of light once again extended out from the vice president's surroundings. These hands of light overlapped each other like a thick wall of light. Su-yin smashed into the huge hand and shattered it, but was unable to shatter it. He clenched his teeth and crazily rushed forward. His body trembled, but he could not continue forward. The vice president looked at Su-yin coldly. The dense immortal qi started to wrap around Su-yin, wanting to completely tear him apart. Brat! When the holy fire demon saw this scene, it immediately became anxious. It tried its best to drag its feet out of the door, but for powerful existences like them, it was already not easy to directly cross over, and it was even more difficult to get out quickly. Su-yin and the vice president were in a stalemate. The vice president did not move at all, but the qi on Su-yin's body was being consumed crazily. The sky was completely distorted. The sun and moon lost their light. The people of immortal underworld on the river Styx all crawled down at the same time, or curled up their bodies. The aura produced by the supreme expert's battle caused their hair to tremble, and they no longer dared to straighten their bodies. Su-yin, you idiot! Why didn't you run if you could? You still want to fight him? Aren't you courting death? Su-yin, who was still in a stalemate with the vice president, suddenly heard a voice in his mind. It was Ling Qingyu's voice, and her voice sounded a little anxious. Qingyu, I know what I'm doing is stupid, but I can't control myself. Although I can't defeat him, I believe that I won't regret what I've done this time. Su-yin growled. He once again activated his strength. The current him had already reached his limit. His entire body seemed to be exhausted, and his qi meridians were aching. However, this feeling that almost made him faint made him feel extremely satisfied. This was a battle with a powerhouse. Even if he lost, it was still a gain. The vice president frowned. He looked at the huge hand of light, but with two bangs, the few hands of light in front of him actually shattered. Although Su-yin's aura was not as strong as the vice president's, it was especially fierce and sharp like a bamboo blade. However, he did not care. He urged his qi again, and in an instant, the huge hand of light formed a few more. Su-yin used all his strength to break through the huge hand of light, and in front of the vice president, it was just a matter of time. The difference in strength was too great. Su-yin's face turned pale white, his body trembling more and more. If this continued, he would not even be able to last for 10 breaths of time. Ling Qingyu was anxious and immediately shouted, Su-yin, I'll help you block it first. You think of a way to escape and quickly leave. Do you understand? You help me block it? Su-yin clenched his teeth, but in his heart, he did not understand Ling Qingyu's voice. However, how could he let Ling Qingyu block it? He took a deep breath and said indifferently, No need. What? Ling Qingyu was startled. Su-yin suddenly let go of his hands and directly retreated, distancing himself from the vice president. It was extremely straightforward, as if he had already prepared it beforehand. Seeing that, Ling Qingyu was stunned. Could it be that the holy demon fire has already successfully crossed over? She raised her head and looked towards the crack, but what she saw was not what she had expected. The last leg of the holy demon fire was still half inside, and had not successfully crossed over. If that was the case, wouldn't the holy demon fire not be able to save him? Then why did he still vow to retreat so confidently? Die. The vice president snorted, and a large number of palms directly grabbed towards Su-yin. But in that split second, a grayish-black blade suddenly shot out from behind Su-yin and rushed towards the vice president. The light directly crushed the vice president's aura, and with a shocking momentum, it slashed towards him. Chapter 1239. As soon as this aura appeared, it immediately alerted all the nether dwellers below. They raised their heads and looked at the sky, only to see that the entire sky had been torn apart by a grayish-black light. A figure leapt into the sky and approached the godlike vice chief judge of the immortal court. This aura was extremely strong. Even the vice president of the immortal court did not dare to ignore it. Immediately, he gave up on attacking Su-yin and activated his technique. A large amount of light blossomed in front of him, transforming into a gigantic wheel of light. When the figure struck the wheel of light, It was like an extremely sharp sword striking a shield. The sword intent exploded, and the wheel of light trembled crazily, as though it could break at any time. The powerful sword intent engulfed the heaven and earth, stirring the river Styx, as though the myriad of worlds would change color because of this sword. Su Yin stared at the source of the sword intent, only to see a man dressed in gray and blacklight armor standing there. The man's expression was cold and solemn, his sword eyes staring straight at the figure of light in the distance, and in his right hand he was holding onto a gray and black longsword. The sword looked extremely ordinary, without any halo, nor was it sharp. It looked ordinary, like a sharp blade that had not been sharpened, but on the body of the sword there were two blood-red words engraved. Beheading Immortal. Could this be the beheading immortal sword that the Imperial Ming sword had mentioned before? Su Yin stared straight at the sword, his eyes flashing with passion. Which swordsman did not wish to have a peerless sword? But a good sword could only be found by chance and not sought. Although it was Su Yun's first time seeing the beheading immortal sword, the feeling that the sword gave him was a throbbing feeling that struck the depths of his soul. This feeling was something that he had rarely encountered in the sword sheath's world. The Imperial Ming sword had arrived, and he no longer needed to worry about the danger of the underworld. At least, there were already people who would deal with the matters between the three underworld commanders. Damn it, I never thought that the Imperial Ming sword would come so quickly. Qi stared at the gray-black figure that had repelled the vice president and said while clenching his teeth, Imperial Ming sword? So what if he's here? Since our immortal court has taken action this time, we have already calculated his existence. It's good that he's here. It saves us the trouble of sending people to look for him. Today, we will take care of him together. Xian Wu said coldly. Hearing this, Qi Yi's eyes lit up. Does Master Xian Wu have a plan to deal with the Royal Underworld sword? Don't worry. Just follow my orders and continue to kill the underworld dwellers. I'll go make the arrangements. The Royal Underworld sword won't be able to be proud for long. Xian Wu snorted and left. Qi Yi looked at the direction where Xian Wu had left. His eyes flickered with cold light, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he continued to command the people of the immortal court to chase after flying flames and 9 disasters. In the vast sky, the Imperial Underworld sword stood proudly in the middle. The blazing crack also began to close. The holy demon fire had completely stepped through the crack and flew out. As soon as it appeared, the temperature of the entire true devil realm skyrocketed. The sky also turned fiery red as if it was on fire. The vice president and the Imperial Underworld sword turned to look at the holy demon fire in unison. The vice president's eyes regained their calm, while the Imperial Underworld sword was surprised. He frowned, then turned to look at Su Yun and asked, Did you invite this holy demon fire? Yes. Su Yun nodded. Before Senior came, the situation here was already out of control. This junior is not talented, so I could only invite Senior Holy Demon Fire to come and suppress this place. But crossing worlds is too troublesome, and it took up a lot of time. It's good that you're here. I can relax a lot. I'm a person who is afraid of trouble. If I had to solve the problem here alone, I would have a headache. The Holy Demon Fire looked at the vice president and let out a sinister smile. Your immortal court has always been unjust. Although I haven't been in the myriad realms for all these years, I still know your immortal court like the back of my hand. The other realms can't fight against you, but that doesn't mean you can do whatever you want. Is there no reason why the immortal court hasn't been unified for so many years? At the end of the day, it's just the law of nature. Although we devil dwellers have a bad reputation, it doesn't mean that all devils are evil. Just like you immortals, can you guarantee that there are no despicable people among you immortals? Brat, I advise you to stop as soon as possible and leave with your people. Otherwise, you'll suffer when we fight later. The Holy Demon Fire said with a smile. His horrified face, coupled with his laughter, caused people to tremble in fear. In the end, it's an existence from the primordial era. However, your words don't have much depth. He stared at the Imperial Hell Sword and the Fire Saint Devil standing in front of him. There was no fear on his face. Instead, there was a dense battle intent. He said faintly, "However, the true devil world must be eliminated. The netherworld should also attach itself to the immortal court. If the myriad worlds can't be united, there will definitely be chaos. We are doing this for the sake of the myriad worlds. If the two of you want to fight me, I don't mind, but I'm afraid this huge true devil realm will no longer exist." With that said, the holy demon fire's expression froze. It looked at the vice president, then at the imperial sword, and immediately sighed. Seeing that, Su Yun also understood the holy demon fire's worries and the meaning behind the vice president's words. These three were all existences that had surpassed the peak of the spirit god realm, and no one knew what realm they had entered. If they were to fight here, not to mention whether or not the people here could survive, the entire true devil realm would be shattered. Since that's the case, then you should quickly leave. Don't waste your time here. At this moment, the imperial sword suddenly snorted coldly. "Aren't you afraid of destroying the world?" the vice president asked. "If you want to destroy my people, what's the use of leaving a world?" The imperial sword immediately retorted, "Good, good, good. As expected of the imperial sword, it's broken. However, have you really decided? Don't regret it. Once this war starts, there will be no turning back. Your netherworld and my immortal world are mortal enemies. You have to think about it clearly. Think about the true devil realm from back then, and think about the true devil realm now. These are all lessons to be learned from," the vice president said coldly. "I, the imperial sword, have never regretted doing things. In addition, I hope you're not mistaken. The true devil realm is the true devil realm. The underworld is the underworld. This is not the same." He raised the grayish-black sword in his hand and said indifferently, "Moreover, I also want to give you a piece of advice. I hope you can listen carefully." "Speak," the vice president said indifferently. "If we fight, we will not rest until one of us dies. I hope that you will not run away, because once we start fighting, even if you flee to the ends of the earth, I will still chase after you." The imperial sword gripped its sword tightly and said indifferently, "I am just like that. Once I decide on something, I must complete it. I hope that you will fight to your heart's content with me, to the point of death, because I will not run away." "Oh!" When the vice president heard this, he suddenly let out an ear-piercing laugh. "Interesting. Very interesting. Since that's the case, then all right, let's have a life and death battle. I've heard of the great name of the imperial sword before, and today, let me see just how powerful this imperial sword is." With that, the vice president waved his hand, and the halo of light that surrounded his body quickly gathered in his hand. In the blink of an eye, a slender and lustrous light sword appeared in his hand. "Oh, both of you use swords? All right, I'll play with you too." The holy demon fire chuckled. With a wave of his hand, a blazing crack appeared in the air. Following that, his hand reached into the crack, and a sharp blade that seemed to be made of fire was grabbed in his hand. However, Su Yun, who was watching from afar, realized that no matter how he looked at it, the sharp blade looked like a blade. "Hey kid, what are you still standing there for? Why aren't you leaving? When we fight later, this place will be in chaos. Although your cultivation is not bad, compared to us, you're still too weak. The strength of your body will not be able to withstand our auras. Leave, return to the netherworld first." At this time, the holy demon fire spoke. Hearing that, Su Yun hesitated for a moment, but he was not in a hurry to leave. In his heart, he really wished to witness this great battle with his own eyes, but what the holy demon fire said was right. If he stayed here, he would definitely be killed. "Su Yun, there is no need to feel troubled. This great battle is something that can only be encountered and not sought. If you can witness it with your own eyes, your cultivation will definitely increase, and your realm and comprehension will also soar greatly. If you want to see it, there is a way." Just as Su Yun was in a dilemma, Ling Qingyu's voice suddenly sounded out in his mind. "Qingyu, what method do you have?" Su Yun asked. "It's very simple. You just need to hide in the sword sheath and watch through it," Ling Qingyu said. "Through the sword sheath?" Su Yun was startled. The limitless sword sheath, is actually not as easy to damage as you think it is. You don't have to worry. Is that so? Su Yin was stunned. He did not know why. But every time he was at a loss, Ling Qing, you would always be able to solve his problems. And these methods of solving problems were things that he did not even dare to think about in the past. Didn't Ling Qing, too much? What did she find out? Could it be that by staying in the sword's sheath, one could know everything? Su Yin was already certain that Ling Qing had hidden countless of things from him, and she might not be like what she said. Just that he did not know how to ask about this, because no matter what Ling Qing did, it was for his own good. Forget it. The great battle was about to erupt. Su Yin did not dare delay. He immediately turned and scurried down, found a place to hide, and directly entered the sword sheath. The limitless sword sheath directly landed in front of a pile of rocks at the side of the river Styx, and at that moment, the immortal and Netherrealm people were still fighting on the river Styx. The Netherrealm people wanted to escape, but the immortals chased after them relentlessly. Xian Wu seemed to have sensed something and immediately gathered the immortals to leave. The Netherrealm people finally had a chance to catch their breath, and the first battle between the immortals and Netherrealm people gradually came to an end. But this was not the end. An even bigger battle was about to begin. Chapter 1240. Why aren't you chasing them? Flying Flames and 9 disasters are already trapped. As long as we put in more effort, we will definitely be able to destroy them here. Qi looked at Flying Flames and 9 disasters who were running towards the secret passage, then turned to Xian Wu, who came to stop him, and shouted angrily. The Vice President is about to fight against the Imperial Underworld Sword. Once experts of their level start fighting, the entire true devil world will not be peaceful. Although Your Excellency wants to eliminate these traitors, the current situation is not optimistic. It is better to leave as soon as possible. Once the battle is over and Lord Vice President erases the Imperial Darksword, we can then launch a counterattack against the Netherworld. Without the protection of the Imperial Darksword, and with Lord Vice President to rely on, wouldn't it be easy to take down the Netherworld? Xian Wu said lightly. Can you really get rid of the Imperial Underworld Sword? Qi stared at Xian Wu and asked in a deep voice. The Imperial Underworld Sword is known as the #1 sword in the Underworld. It can drag people into the Underworld, into a land of death. The immortals and demons cannot stop it, although the Vice President is an almighty expert of the Immortal Court. Can he really destroy the Imperial Underworld Sword? If the Imperial Underworld Sword does not die, I will not have a good time in the future. Don't worry, Xian Wu smiled lightly. We have already prepared for this. Previously, we suffered a loss because of the Imperial Underworld Sword. We will not make the same mistake twice. This time, the Imperial Underworld Sword will definitely fall. Your Excellency, just wait patiently. All right. Qi nodded and said no more. If he still insisted on not going after Xian Wu, he would not know how to appreciate her kindness. The Immortal World Army began to retreat. So did Qi He. The Immortal World Army no longer chased after them, giving the Dark Dwellers enough time to leave. Soon, the water in the river Styx gradually calmed down. There was no winner or loser in this battle. The key to victory had already shifted from 10,000 people to 2 people. That was the duel between the Vice President of the Immortal Court and the Imperial Underworld Sword. However, the current duel was between the Imperial Inferno Sword and the Fire Holy Devil King against the Vice President. Even though it seemed like they were bullying the Vice President of the Immortal Court was extremely powerful. It would be extremely strenuous for the Imperial Inferno Sword to deal with him alone. Moreover, this was a war, not a duel between swordsmen. The Imperial Inferno Sword was not a stickler to conventions. He also understood that the underworld would be in danger if the person in front of him did not defeat him. However, since the Vice President knew who the 2 people in front of him were and still dared to accept the challenge, it was enough to show that he had the confidence to deal with these 2 people. Perhaps the Vice President had some unexpected methods. Su Yun, who was inside the sword sheath, stared at the 3 figures in the sky, to the point that he did not pay attention to the gradually deserted battlefield. He didn't know what the result of this battle would be, but without a doubt, this battle will be recorded in the history books. The Netherworld River gradually quietened down. Only a few wounded soldiers who had not been moved away were left. They could no longer move, and their cultivation had been destroyed. Because of the hasty retreat, they were left behind by the main army. Whoosh! At this time, a cold wind blew from the sky, blowing away all the death aura. The underworld chi, immortal chi, and blazing devil chi were unable to be taken away by the wind. They floated between heaven and earth, colliding and pressing against each other, as if they wanted to crush each other. If it's 2 against 1 from the start, it will seem like we're being heartless. Young man, you go first. You're young and promising. I'll just watch from the side. When you can't take it anymore, I'll make a move. At this time, the fire holy devil was the first to speak, breaking the silence of the netherworld river. It leaped backwards, and a burning red cloud flew over, dragging it. It laid casually on the red cloud, looking at the two of them with a smile. That's exactly what I was thinking, the Imperial Inferno sword said indifferently. He had never fought with the vice president before. If it was 2 against 1 right from the start, with his character as a swordsman, he would naturally be unhappy. However, the situation was dire, and he had no choice but to lower his head. Now that the holy demon fire had said so, he would not disobey. Hee, are you looking down on me? The vice president smiled strangely and said, Fine. If that's the case, I'll show you the immortal court's methods. I've been hiding in the immortal court all these years. I didn't expect people to look down on me now. He walked forward, his feet moving in the air. Every step he took felt like he was stepping on reincarnation. The Imperial Underworld sword also headed straight for the vice president. Several grayish-black seals appeared around the vice president's body. After these seals appeared, they flew directly toward the immortal slaying sword in his hand. Every time a seal landed on the sword would release a strange ring of gray light. It was abnormally dazzling, but once the gray light appeared, the netherworld chi in the surroundings would become heavier and the death chi would become denser. The vice president frowned when he saw the changes in the Imperial Underworld sword. He suddenly realized something. 9 death seals. So, you've already died 9 times? That's right. The Imperial Underworld sword said calmly. Each time, I died because I failed to break through. However, my current cultivation was formed from death, and people are born from death. People of the immortal court, you don't understand the pain of death, and you don't understand the fear of death. Today, I'll let you experience it one by one. By the time he finished speaking, the last seal had already landed on the immortal slaying sword. The immortal slaying sword seemed to have been activated. It suddenly trembled violently, and the trembling sword seals seemed like they were going to shatter the void. Whoosh! At this moment, the Imperial Underworld sword moved. He held the sword with one hand and pointed the tip at the vice president. 9 rays of gray light burst out from the sword, shooting toward the vice president like beams of light. Lin Bing Doja Jie Zhen Lai Qian Xing. The 9 syllables mantra lined up one by one, as if 9 figures were circling around him. Every single syllable was madly urging death, aura. Your life and death have been taken away. You're just like dust drifting in this world. No matter how high they float, they'll fall one day. The Imperial Underworld sword closed its eyes and activated the Imperial Underworld sword technique. The 9 runes began to frantically draw out the vice president's life force. His sword was not based on speed, nor was it based on sharpness. It was only based on the exquisite, profound technique of the sword, the essence of the sword. This was a true sword arts expert. His sword and the sword ancestor's sword were 2 completely different paths. His sword did not touch the body, but completely took away the opponent's life. His sword went straight for the soul. Su Yun, who was hiding in the sword's sheath, was dumbstruck. However, the vice president stood in the middle of the 9 words. He was taking a leisurely stroll in the courtyard, as if he didn't care about the life force that had been sucked out. You're right. Dust will fall one day, but you don't know that when the wind blows, they will fly up again and soar between heaven and earth. Nothing can keep them here forever, the vice president said in a deep voice. Suddenly, he waved the light sword in his hand. Buzz, 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 buzz. 8 rays of light appeared around the Imperial Underworld Sword's body. The light that shot out from the light shone on the Imperial Underworld Sword's body. Almost at the same time the light appeared, hundreds of millions of sword chi shot out from the door of light and rained down on the Imperial Underworld Sword's body. The Imperial Underworld Sword immediately rotated its body. The immortal slaying sword trembled violently, and a whirlwind burst out from the sword's body, completely devouring the sword chi that came close to its body. Following that, the Imperial Underworld Sword made its move again, and its figure suddenly disappeared. At the same time, the sky behind the vice president darkened, and the river Styx below seemed to have sunk into a storm, overturning the rivers and overturning the seas. The terrifying waves swept across, raging endlessly, and the earth trembled incessantly, as if it was the end of the world. Clang! At this moment, the sky suddenly split open, and an extremely black sword shot out from the crack, fiercely slashing towards the vice president. Sword of Death. The Imperial Underworld Sword growled and extended its palm downwards, as if it was pulling something over. The great sword fell straight down without any hesitation. The sword was incomparably huge, but its body was somewhat transparent, like a sword image. The moment it appeared, it seemed to support the heavens and the earth. The sword's body was pitch black. In the middle of the sword's body, there was a huge death character. Death Sword. Su Yun, who was hiding in the sword's sheath, looked at the sword image that had appeared and immediately cried out involuntarily. This isn't a death sword, it's just a sword image of a death sword. Ling Qingyu, who was standing beside him, said softly, "Why would the sword image of the death sword be summoned by the Imperial Underworld Sword?" Su Yun was startled. Ling Qingyu shook her head, indicating that she did not know. Although the vice president was powerful, he had no choice but to dodge in the face of such an attack. The great sword descended and directly struck the ground, causing the entire ground to instantly shatter. The water of the river Styx began to fill the cracks in the ground, and the entire river Styx seemed to be on the verge of being destroyed. This was just the beginning of the battle. The holy demon fire had yet to participate in the battle, and this place was already in a terrible state. If the holy demon fire also participated in the battle, even if the true devil realm was not destroyed, it would be more or less the same. Those who had not died from the battle between the underworld and immortal realms were now completely dead. In a battle between mighty figures, they would not care about these weak creatures. Even the corpses of those who had died on the battlefield were completely destroyed. They were like the cleaners of this world, beginning to rebuild this messy and broken world. Immortal punishment. At this time, the vice president raised his light sword high up, and a burst of immortal chi shot out from the sword tip, shooting straight into the sky. Following that, the entire sky flashed with lightning, and lightning bolts flew everywhere. In a short while, lightning bolts covered the entire sky like a net. This dazzling strike was like a piece of red iron that was branded in his heart. He would probably never be able to forget it for the rest of his life. The Imperial Underworld Sword's expression was solemn, but he did not panic. He formed a hand seal with one hand and held onto the immortal slaying sword with the other. He rushed towards the lightning net without any hesitation. As he approached the lightning net, he slashed with one hand, directly splitting the lightning net apart, and the sword chi soared into the sky. As for the holy demon fire, he sat on the fire cloud and did not defend himself. When the turbulence landed on his body, it was as if he was scratching an itch and did not hinder him in the slightest. So boring. Can't you guys be a little more serious? If this goes on, I'm afraid it will take decades for the victor to be decided. Can't you just use your trump card to your heart's content and broaden my horizons? Finally, the holy demon fire could not hold it in any longer and shouted. Chapter 1241. The holy flame demon's words were extremely provocative. In fact, neither the vice president nor the Imperial Underworld Sword knew the depth of the holy flame demon's strength. It was a figure from the ancient era. Although the two of them felt that its strength should be similar to theirs, this was only a personal feeling. No one knew how strong its methods were. The imperial underworld sword glanced at the holy flame demon. Without saying a word, the sharp blade in his hand quickly rotated, and circles of grayish-black death aura spread out in all directions like ripples, reaching the horizon. It was as if the entire sky was like a lake, and the sword in his hand was like a stone thrown into the calm lake, stirring up 1,000 ripples. The vice president chuckled and said, "Good, good. Since you feel that these methods are boring, then I will use some methods that interest you." After saying that, he suddenly raised his hand and moved his finger slightly. A circle of light appeared at the tip of his finger, and then the circle of light shattered, turning into 10 beams of light that shot out in all directions, falling down and disappearing. What kind of spell was this? The imperial underworld sword and Su Yun, who was hidden in the sword sheath, were confused. There was no powerful immortal chi, nor was there any terrifying destructive power. What was the vice president trying to do? Su Yun's heart was filled with confusion, but the imperial Ming sword did not care about what method it was. He spun his body and brandished the sword in his hand, causing a scene that caused people's hearts to palpitate. The sharp blade of the sword, as he brandished it, created layer after layer of void waves. The entire sky was completely dragged up like a raging wave. It swept out in all directions. There was no place for people to hide. However, the vice president did not have any intention of dodging this attack. He did not even take a defensive stance. He faced it calmly, as if the wave of the void did not exist. How confident! The imperial underworld sword snorted, killing intent exploding in his eyes. With a light shake of his hand, the incoming immortal slaying sword trembled violently. Circles of nether chi shook out from the sword and directly collided with the wave of the void. The wave was like a door of death that led to hell, and with the power to devour the heavens, it pounced forward. Still not planning to dodge? Su Yun, who was inside the sword sheath, looked at the scene. His heart almost stopped. His eyes did not blink as he looked at the situation. The vice president must have some tricks up his sleeve, otherwise he would not be so calm. Su Yun looked at the vice president's calm face and instantly made this judgment in his heart. However, he also knew that the imperial Ming sword was definitely clear about this, but the arrow was already on the bowstring and it had to be released. At this time, there was no turning back. He was closing in. The void wave, which was powerful enough to kill immortals in an instant, was only a few feet away from the vice president. It was as if he could touch it with just a stretch of his hand. At this time, even if he reacted, he wouldn't be able to resist. Clang! Finally, the vice president moved. He moved his finger again, and another ring of light shot out from his fingertip. However, this ring of light was different from the previous one. This ring of light was completely seven-colored. As soon as it appeared, it turned into 10 beams of light that shot out in all directions. They did not protect the vice head's body, nor did they disperse the void wave. Crash! The big wave fell. Su Yun opened his eyes wide. He saw the vice president's body slowly disappearing into the waves. His eyes were filled with shock. He could not believe what he saw. After the body disappeared, even the immortal chi around the body disappeared without a trace. Could it be that the vice president died just like that? Impossible. Su Yun knew that the vice president of the immortal court would definitely not die just like that. At most, he would be injured. However, that was not the case. Around the imperial Ming sword, 10 rays of light suddenly shot out. These 10 rays of light flew up into the sky and floated up. The 10 rays of light flickered with a golden light, and after a moment, they transformed into the shape of a person. Looking at the figure, it looked like the vice president. The 10 of them extended their hands at the same time and struck towards the imperial Ming sword in the air. Between their palms, a terrifying divine power that was difficult to resist seemed to shoot out. What is this? Su Yun was dumbstruck. Looking at the 10 figures that were flickering with golden light, there was not the slightest bit of immortal energy lingering around them. It did not seem like they were using their own immortal techniques. The divine power was so dense. Could it be a magic treasure? Su Yun thought in shock. As expected, just as the 10 golden figures appeared, another dazzling figure appeared outside of the 10 figures. Looking over, it was the vice president. He stood quietly at the side, watching everything as if he was an outsider. It turned out that the vice president from before was not his original body, but a fake body created by his magic. The clone created by the vice president's cultivation could almost be mistaken for the real one. And even someone as strong as the Imperial Ming sword would not be able to tell the real one in an instant. The divine power between the 10 figures quickly formed an extremely large golden formation. The Imperial Ming sword was in the center of the golden formation, and the terrifying divine power crazily covered the Imperial Ming sword's body. He opened his eyes wide, gritted his teeth, and tried his best to twist his body. But at this moment, he discovered that his body was unable to move at all, as if every part of his body had been frozen. Imperial Ming sword. Although your nether sword technique is invincible, it has a fatal weakness, and that is the divine power. The divine power can completely restrain your nether chi. The vice president said with a faint smile. Divine power? Humph. Divine power has long been unable to restrain my nether chi. This so-called weakness has long been overcome by me. The Imperial Ming sword coldly snorted. Divine power is extremely rare, and it is said that only the gods of ancient times had divine power. But if the divine power is too thin, it will definitely not be able to overcome your nether chi. Thus, I order people to find this 10-seal divine statue. Once the energy contained within it is activated, it can release unlimited energy. Combined with my killing formation, absolutely no one will be able to escape. Imperial Ming sword. Today is the day of your death. Obediently accept your fate. The vice president laughed and looked at the Imperial Ming sword as if he was looking at a dying man. Damn it. Only then did the Imperial Ming sword understand that the vice president had already prepared a plan to deal with him. From the beginning, he had set up this trap. From the moment the Immortal Court army set off, he had been preparing. In the entire underworld, the Immortal Court was not afraid of the underworld dwellers, but the famous Imperial Ming sword. He tried his best to activate his netherworld energy in an attempt to forcefully overwhelm the divine power that surrounded him. However, just as he activated his netherworld energy, it was completely devoured by the divine power around him. There was not a single trace of aura that he could use. Right now, he only had a body full of power, but he could not use it. It was as if his hands and feet were being strangled, and he could not move at all. All right, time to end this. The vice president snorted coldly and charged straight at the Imperial Ming sword in the center. His killing intent was like an erupting flood, sweeping towards the Imperial Ming sword. Right now, the Imperial Ming sword could not activate any nether chi at all. He could not block this attack at all. Even if he wanted to activate his artifact, he would need nether chi to activate it. The Imperial Ming sword was completely defeated at this moment. The vice president of the Immortal Court was indeed extraordinary. But, just as the vice president was about to attack the Imperial Ming sword, the holy demon fire who was still lying on the cloud of fire finally could not hold it in any longer. A meteor-like fireball hurtled in their direction. When the vice president saw this, he immediately stopped his attack and dodged. He turned his head and looked at the holy demon fire, and the male and female voices rang out again. You finally made your move. If you still did not make your move, this brat would be finished. The holy demon fire slowly flew over. Do you think that you have already saved him? The vice president laughed again. With that, the holy demon fire looked at the Imperial Ming sword, only to see the 10 golden figures suddenly move. They were like 10 sharp arrows, stabbing viciously at the Imperial Ming sword in the center. The 10 golden shadows pierced through the body of the Imperial Hell sword and disappeared. 10 sword scars appeared on the body of the Imperial Hell sword. The Imperial Hell sword trembled for a moment before falling down from the sky. It had completely lost its ability to fight. How despicable! The holy demon fire looked at the falling Imperial Ming sword, then turned his head to stare at the vice president. He said calmly, "You actually lied to us. That wasn't some 10-sealed divine statue at all. It was a divine hidden weapon forged from the soul of a god. You purposely lied to the Imperial Ming sword to make him careless. then suddenly launched a sneak attack. I was unable to react in time. You've been targeting the Imperial Ming sword from the very beginning. You finally realized. The vice president laughed softly. It's funny that you people are still not smart enough. The Imperial Ming sword decided to fight you fair and square, but you used such a despicable method. You even called yourself a member of the Immortal Court and the Law and Justice. How laughable. The holy demon Fire shook his head and snorted. You so-called immortals are even inferior to us demons. How dare you dream of dominating the myriad worlds? Dream? The vice president raised the lightsaber in his hand and smiled calmly. Then I should prove it to you. Let's see if the Immortal Court is dreaming. As soon as he finished his words, the vice president moved and appeared beside the holy demon Fire in an instant. The light sword emitted a dazzling radiance as the blade of the sword let out a buzzing sound. Then, it smashed towards the head of the holy demon Fire. The terrifying radiance seemed to be able to cut through all flames. However, just as the lightsaber was about to land, the holy demon Fire's flaming sword slammed into the holy demon Fire's body. Its terrifying temperature roasted everything and swallowed the lightsaber. The intense flames even spread through the lightsaber towards the vice president's body. Puffed. A shrill cry came from the holy demon Fire's mouth. What? The vice president frowned. He immediately dispersed the lightsaber in his hand and retreated. Although it was only a simple clash, he knew that this sacred fiery demon beast was not to be underestimated. Its strength might even be stronger than the Imperial Dark Sword. Chapter 1242. Against such a powerful existence, one could not engage in close combat. The temperature around its body could instantly rise to a level that was hundreds of times higher than that of the scorching sun. The vice president frowned as he smelled a thick aura of death. He looked down and his eyes narrowed. He saw that the river Styx that even the immortals and demons feared had completely disappeared. The sand and stones at the bottom of the river Styx had dried up, and the entire river Styx had evaporated the moment the holy demon flame made his move. You're very powerful, the vice president said indifferently. I've never heard of someone like you in the myriad of worlds. I'm afraid that even the legendary flame sovereign might not have your strength. I'm impressed. Flame sovereign? Who? I don't know him. When I was roaming the myriad worlds, I've never heard of such a person. However, kid, I'm not happy at all that you admire me. After all, I look down on you at all. The holy demon flame seemed to be a straightforward person. If he had anything to say, he would say it without giving the vice president any face. However, the vice president didn't mind. He smiled and said, You're really not humble at all, but it doesn't matter. Although you're powerful, I believe that if you don't surrender to the Immortal Court, then your fate will be the same as the Imperial Underworld sword. With that, the vice president abandoned the light sword and flipped his hands. Circles of immortal chi surged between his palms, and following that, a large number of cracks appeared in the fiery red sky. Rays of white light flowed out from the cracks, and then a large number of godlike figures floated down from the light. These figures turned into a magnificent army of thousands of horses and charged towards the holy demon flame. Su Yin stared at this move. He still clearly remembered that he had used this move when he fought with the vice president. However, although the vice president was still the vice president, the one facing the vice president was not the Su Yin from back then, but the holy fire demon. It snorted lightly, not caring at all, and swung the fire sword in its hand, causing countless flames to spray out from the sword, as though it wanted to burn the heavens, directly engulfing the Empyrean shadows that were rushing down, and in the blink of an eye, the majestic army of thousands of men and horses was completely incinerated. The vice president didn't give up. He cast a spell again, and the crack in the sky shot out several pillars of light toward the holy fire demon. When the pillars of light landed on the ground, they turned the stones on the ground into dust. It was a terrifying scene. In the blink of an eye, the entire ground was covered in scars. However, the holy fire demon didn't dodge and let the pillars of light shine on it. When the pillars of light shone on its body, It actually revealed an extremely comfortable expression and said, "Comfortable, comfortable. Continue, continue." The vice president frowned. He didn't dare to get close to the holy fire demon and could only activate it from afar. After a few moves, he couldn't do anything to the holy fire demon. The vice president was starting to get impatient. He snorted and suddenly closed his eyes, chanting some sort of incantation. It seemed like he didn't plan to waste any more time and decided to use his strongest move. His body once again released a dazzling light. Above the originally red sky, a dazzling white light suddenly descended. The light was exceptionally holy, shining on the broken land of the river Styx, turning it white. An indescribable, holy, immortal power filled the world. Following that, the earth trembled slightly, and the broken rocks on the ground suddenly floated up. At the same time, the sky flickered with the light of the stars. The light of the stars became brighter and brighter, as though they were going to replace the holy light. Holy Fire Demon's eyes widened as he looked at the shocking scene. His face was filled with astonishment. After a moment, he suddenly thought of something and roared, "Stop! You'll destroy the true demon world." However, the vice president had no intention of stopping. He snorted coldly. "What does it have to do with me, whether the true demon world is destroyed or not? My goal is to eliminate all the filth in this world. I want to wipe out all those who dare to resist the immortal court. Since you're unwilling to surrender, then die with the true demon world." His voice was extremely loud, as though he had already pronounced the punishment for the true demon world. However, his words completely infuriated the holy fire demon. The flames on his body grew larger, and the light that enveloped his body instantly disappeared without a trace. The high temperature continued to spread in all directions. "Bastard!" The holy fire demon flew into a rage and roared. "Since you're acting like this, then don't blame me for being ruthless. I didn't take action before because I didn't want the true demon world to be destroyed. But now, since you're being heartless, then I'll be unjust." After saying that, the holy demon fire took a step forward. It stomped in the air, and a huge fire lotus appeared beneath its feet. The lotus quickly spread in all directions, and the flames on the lotus were like sparks landing on tar. They quickly lit up the sky, and the entire sky was burning. The flames in the sky quickly spread to the ground, spreading in all directions. The entire world was filled with this inextinguishable divine fire. The vice president's radiance also became insignificant. The vice president let out a painful roar. However, he persevered and did not give up. He firmly believed that even if his attack could not kill the holy fire demon, it was enough to severely injure it, overturn the heavens and earth, die after 3 tribulations. The vice president let out a low growl. His palms fell, and the immortal chi between his fingers pulled downwards. In an instant, all the starlight in the sky fell downwards, and the gravel and boulders on the ground flew upwards in a frenzy. The two substances collided in the air, causing a world-shaking explosion. The entire true devil realm was in turmoil, the earth was torn apart, the mountains and rivers were shattered, the rivers and seas were overturned, and it was extremely chaotic. This quiet realm welcomed its end. Su Yun, who was inside the sword sheath, stared blankly at all of this. He did not know how he would react to this power, but he understood that from now on, the true devil realm was no longer the true devil realm of the past. Crash! Just as the vice president was about to unleash his final move, the holy fire demon also activated his move. An unknown, terrifying high temperature filled the world, and the destructive power of the explosions was instantly engulfed by the flames. The ground was completely melted, and the sky was filled with flames. This place had already turned into a huge furnace, and it was completely impossible for any living being to survive. The spells of the two of them were almost all realm-destroying techniques. No wonder the holy fire demon had said those words earlier. However, the flames of the holy fire demon were clearly stronger than the vice president's technique. As soon as it activated it, The vice president's immortal chi immediately disappeared without a trace, and he himself was also engulfed by the terrifying flames of the holy fire demon, his entire body wailing in the sea of fire. "You bastard, you're so lawless. Today, I will refine you." The holy fire demon was obviously angered by the vice president. He immediately formed hand seals with both hands, and the flames that were wrapped around the vice president suddenly spiraled up, turning into a flame cauldron, and the vice president's body was in the center of the cauldron, the flames crazily engulfing his body. And after his body was burned by the flames, it would release rays of light. It was extremely mystical, but this scene was also extremely shocking. Su Yun, who was inside the sword sheath, was filled with shock. He stared at the vice president with a complicated look in his eyes. He did not expect the vice president to end up like this, nor did he expect the holy fire demon to be so strong. He did not think so before, but now it seemed that even the Imperial Ming sword was not a match for the holy fire demon. It had been in nirvana for countless years. If it had not encountered that calamity in the ancient times, what kind of cultivation would it have had until today? The vice president was still screaming. The holy fire demon did not show any mercy. The temperature around its body had already risen to the extreme. The entire true devil realm was about to melt. There was magma everywhere. Only the hardest rocks were left that had turned into magma, still lingering in the world. The sky was incomparably red. It was extremely terrifying. Even the Fireheart realm was not as terrifying as the current true devil realm. The limitless sword sheath floated in the magma. Su Yun only regained his senses after a long while. He anxiously wanted to jump out of the sword sheath and leave with it. But just as he moved, Ling Qingyu anxiously pulled him back. "What are you doing?" Ling Qingyu asked. "Even a vice president can't withstand such a high temperature. So how can the sword sheath withstand it? I have to bring the sword sheath back to the underworld to prevent it from being burned by the flames of the holy fire demon. Once it is burned, the evil sword will be born, and that will be the end," Su Yun said anxiously. Hearing that, Ling Qingyu was startled for a moment, then laughed and said, "You already said the sword sheath is used to seal the evil sword. How can it be so weak? Although the holy fire demon is strong, in front of a world-destroying object like the evil sword, it is not worth mentioning. You don't have to worry. The sword sheath won't be destroyed so easily. Otherwise, I wouldn't have let you stay to watch the battle." "Is that so?" Su Yun was skeptical. But just then, Ling Qingyu suddenly cried out in alarm. Su Yun anxiously looked out of the sword sheath, only to see that the vice president, who was engulfed by the flames, suddenly released a circle of golden light. Following that, his body turned into a white dot and gradually disappeared. "This is bad." The holy fire demon cried out anxiously. He wanted to urge his technique again, but the white disappeared. The flames pounced on empty air. The other party had already disappeared without a trace. Damn it! The holy fire demon was furious. This cunning fellow, he actually ran away. Damn it! How annoying. He ran? Su Yun frowned. In such a situation, the vice president can still escape. I'm afraid he didn't escape with his own strength. Ling Qingyu thought for a moment, then said softly, "Maybe someone helped him." "Help him?" Su Yun was startled. He suddenly thought of something and said, "You mean the Immortal Court's president?" Chapter 1243. The vice president fled in defeat. The Immortal Court army retreated. The crisis in the underworld was temporarily resolved, but the true devil realm was destroyed. Su Yun looked at the true devil realm that was filled with the sea of lava and was unable to regain his senses for a long time. The holy demon fire seemed to have sensed the change as well. He took a deep breath, raised both of his hands into the air, and started to accumulate his magic power. The heat of the entire world quickly gathered towards his palms, and very quickly, the flames in the sky extinguished, and the sea of lava on the ground immediately became cold, hard, and turned into rocks. The entire true devil realm was like a furnace that was quickly cooling down. Su Yun sensed that the temperature outside was no longer high, so he jumped out of the sword sheath, wore the sword sheath on his body, and flew straight towards the holy demon fire. Why are you here? Just as Su Yun came out of the sword sheath, the holy demon fire sensed his existence and turned his head to ask. However, Su Yun was not in the mood to answer his question. The current him was already attracted by the devastated true devil realm. He looked around, sighed, and said, "Senior, the current true devil realm is already in ruins and is no different from the desolate realm. Although there was no life in the true devil realm before, there was still a large amount of resources and countless magic treasure left behind by our ancestors." Su Yun couldn't help but think of the true devil sect. If nothing unexpected happened, the true devil sect would have already been reduced to ashes, right? Even the ancient tomb. Although the sect master was powerful, the enchantment he set up should not be able to block the spells of the holy demon fire and the vice president. Sigh. Thinking of this, he sighed again. As for protecting the true devil realm, I am really powerless to do anything. Actually, kid, there's a saying that is very good. If the old does not go, the new will not come. Not to mention that the current true devil realm is lost. It is not big. It is not even 1% of the immortal world, although many great demons have left behind countless treasures for you. But these cannot help you pass through. No wonder you have to rely on yourself, since the true devil realm is destroyed, then rebuild it. You have to know, didn't the true devil realm also develop from poverty? If we just sigh like this, then the true devil realm will truly be finished. His words were not exquisite, but Su Yun felt that they had hit his heart. This was not for him alone, but for everyone who still cared about this realm. Su Yun lowered his head and did not say a word. After an unknown period of time, he asked, "Will the Immortal Court army still come?" "I don't know." Although the vice president was injured, when he left, I felt an unprecedented divine power suddenly enter this place and quickly disappear. Although it was very short, I can conclude that it was definitely an existence stronger than the vice president. This existence's strength is likely above mine. If I were to face him, I would not be completely confident of winning. Holy Demon Flame said in a deep voice. If I'm not wrong, then it's most likely the president of the Immortal Court. Su Yun said in a low voice. President, so that's how it is. Senior, what you said is right. Since we have already lost it, what we should do is not be sad, but face reality, accept reality, and then change everything. However, we do not know if the Immortal Court army will give up just like that. Although the vice president is injured, but Lord Imperial Nethersword injuries are probably not light either. If the Immortal Court army attacks again, we will not be able to resist, so Junior hopes that Senior can temporarily stay and preside over the situation of the underworld demon. Su Yun said directly. At this time, there needed to be a supreme existence to lead the underworld demon. Su Yun believed that his own strength was still lacking, so for this kind of thing, the holy demon fire was the most suitable. However, the holy demon fire shook his head and laughed sinisterly. I can't do this kind of thing, brat. I like to be free and unfettered. I don't like to be restrained. If you want me to manage this large group of people, you might as well kill me. Actually, you're much better at this kind of thing than me. You can do it boldly. Don't worry about your strength. If someone is interested in you, you can tell me. I'll stand up for you. The holy demon fire patted his chest and said with a forthright look. Su Yun rarely saw it speak like that. He shook his head and said, I do not have that ability. This is not because of strength, but because of prestige. The underworld dwellers will not submit to me. So, this is not realistic. Let's take a look at the Imperial Nethersword injuries first. I wonder how he is now. Now that you mention it, I just remembered. The holy demon fire looked down, its eyes releasing waves of scorching flames. The flames flickered for a moment, then directly turned into two blades, tearing the ground apart, extending for tens of thousands of meters before stopping. Inside the torn ground, there was a pitch-black corpse. Su Yun looked at it and realized that the corpse was the corpse of the Imperial Nethersword. The current him seemed to have fainted. There was not much nether chi on the surface, as though the previous battle had scattered all of his nether chi. Su Yun immediately flew over, extended his hand, and placed it on his heart, and discovered that he still had a lot of life force. But the chi meridian in his body had been broken, his internal organs were all damaged, and his soul was most likely damaged as well. I never thought that Lord Imperial Nethersword would be so severely injured. I'm afraid that his cultivation has also regressed by quite a bit. Suyin said in a low voice. Yes. The holy demon fire's eyes flashed with flames. He immediately saw the drawbacks and said indifferently, however, for a cultivator like him, this is something that he must experience. No matter which supreme expert it is, before they reach the peak of the supreme realm, they will experience a necessary tribulation. The regression of cultivation is only one of the tribulations. If the Imperial Nether Sword falls here, then he will not be called the Imperial Nether Sword. Su Yun nodded thoughtfully. He did not say anything else, and immediately carried the Imperial Nether Sword and headed towards the Underworld Gate. Right now, the most important thing was to heal the Imperial Nether Sword. As long as he could wake up, everything could still be saved. The Holy Demon Fire did not leave immediately. Now that the true Devil Realm was in pieces, there was no need to care about anything here, and immediately followed Su Yun towards the Underworld. The gate to the Underworld was already in ruins, and the entire Grand Gate was on the verge of collapse. A large number of broken marks were all over the place, and it was a scene of desolation, causing people to be extremely shocked. Su Yun and the Holy Demon Fire Flame immediately found the crack that was torn open by the Immortal Court Army and drilled inside. However, before the two of them could pass through the crack, they were enveloped by a large amount of nether chi, followed by countless underworld army surging over. Who is it? Quickly stop. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite. An explosive shout came out. Su Yin looked towards the direction of the voice and realized that the person who spoke was one of the underworld general under Chi He's command. He looked at the underworld general and realized that their faces were haggard and their eyes were filled with fatigue. Not only him, but the underworld soldiers behind him were the same. Some of them were injured, some of them were not only uninjured, but were instead filled with nether chi. Without a doubt, their exhaustion was not caused by the Immortal Court Army's fierce attacks, but by Chi He's betrayal. They had always been following Chi He, believing that Chi He was an existence that could lead them to the supreme Great Tao. They believed that Chi He was the one who could protect the underworld. However, Chi He had betrayed them and sided with their mortal enemy, the Immortal Court. None of them could accept this. The faith in their hearts was shattered in an instant. Such a feeling could drive them crazy. I am the Demon Lord of the true Devil Realm, and this is Lord Imperial Nethersword. Right now, Lord Imperial Nethersword is severely injured. Quickly move aside. Let me bring Lord Imperial Nethersword to heal. Su Yin roared. However, the underworld people looked at each other in dismay, not daring to believe Su Yun's words. Lord Imperial Nethersword? Imperial Nethersword? He's here? But, since he was here, why would he be injured? Furthermore, it was beyond recognition. Was it that serious? How is this possible? All of you, get out of the way. If you delay Lord Imperial Nethersword's healing, can you bear the responsibility? Seeing that these people were still hesitating, Su Yun was immediately angered and shouted loudly. However, they still did not move out of the way. Instead, they aimed their sharp blades at Su Yun. The underworld general immediately shouted, Lord Imperial Nethersword's strength is heaven-defying. His methods are extraordinary. How can he be defeated so easily? Not to mention that he had suffered such a serious injury. Don't lie to me. Hearing that, Su Yun was furious, but now was not the time to bother with the underworld people. He took a deep breath and had already made a decision in his heart. He decided to directly barge in and first place the Imperial Nether Sword. If not, who knew what would happen if this dragged on? Kid, you don't have to be anxious. After all, the Imperial Nether Sword is the Imperial Nether Sword. Although these injuries look very serious, his special physique has already stabilized these injuries for him. They won't worsen any further. At this time, the Holy Demon Fire walked over. It extended its rock-like palm and pressed it on the Imperial Nether Sword's shoulder, transmitting a bit of its chi to him. The Imperial Nether Sword's pitch-black face finally looked a little better. When the underworld people saw the monster that came out from behind Su Yun, they were all shocked, and all of them aimed their sharp blades at the holy demon fire. "Who the hell are you?" The underworld general shouted with extreme vigilance. "Didn't I say it already? We are Devil Cultivator." The holy demon fire chuckled, then pointed his finger, causing the weapons in the hands of the underworld people to suddenly turn red. They screamed miserably, and one by one, they let go of the weapons in their hands. The weapons fell to the ground and turned into molten iron. Seeing this scene, everyone's face turned pale. "Master!" Just then, a cry of alarm came out from behind the crowd. Mo Jihua had directly knocked through the crowd, and when he saw the person Su Yun was hugging, his eyes immediately filled with tears, and he cried out bitterly. "Master! Master, what happened to you? Why is this happening? Master, are you all right?" Mo Jihua cried, but it was a pity that the Imperial Nether Sword could not hear him. Seeing Mo Jihua appear, Su Yun heaved a sigh of relief. If she was here, then everything would be easy. As expected, although the underworld people did not recognize the Imperial Nether Sword, they still recognized Mo Jihua. With Mo Jihua as a witness, who would dare not believe that this was the Imperial Nether Sword? Chapter 1244. The Imperial Underworld Sword was arranged to be sent to his own tribe to recuperate. Su Yun invited the Holy Demon Fire Flames to treat him, but the Holy Demon Fire Flames immediately rejected him. Although the injuries of the Imperial Underworld Sword could cause his cultivation to regress, it was not to the point of threatening his life. The Vice President had carefully prepared a trap to lure the Imperial Underworld Sword into it, but he had underestimated the Imperial Underworld Sword. The strongest part of the Imperial Underworld Sword was his sword, but they did not know that his body was also abnormally strong. Ordinary injuries could not cause much damage to him, and even with such a method, it could not take his life. In the remaining time, the Imperial Dark Sword would have to recuperate on its own. Su Yun left the Imperial Ming Swords tribe and went straight to the Devil Cultivator tribe to look for the sect leader. 9 baskets. Upon entering the tribe, Su Yun immediately called for a Devil Cultivator. "This subordinate is here. What orders does the Demon Lord have?" The Devil Cultivator anxiously ran over and knelt down on one knee towards Su Yun. He belonged to the sect master's personal guards. Although the sect master usually did not bring any personal guards with him, they were all Devil Cultivator experts carefully selected by Octagon Aniseed. Even if the sect master did not use them, they would still be sent by Octagon Aniseed to carry out some difficult tasks. Go to the True Devil Realm immediately, find the location of the Devil Sect, and take a look at the situation there. Also, think of a way to confirm the whereabouts of the Immortal Court people who are investigating the True Devil Sect, and you must tell me if the woman called Xiao Chua is all right, understand? Su Yun said in a serious tone. "Yes." Jiawu nodded and left immediately. After that, Su Yun hurriedly went to see the sect leader. The sect master had been waiting for him in the meeting room for a long time. When Su Yun walked in, the sect master stood up. It was still the same disguise that made it hard to see his face clearly, and it was still the same mysterious figure. "Demon Monarch, you're here," the sect master said calmly. "Greetings, Sovereign. There's no need for formalities. Let's talk about what happened outside." The sect master went straight to the point. Hearing that, Su Yun did not waste any more words, and directly told him everything he had seen. When the sect master found out that the Holy Demon Fire had also arrived, he was extremely excited. Su Yun was not surprised. Although there were many people in the True Devil Realm, there were very few experts, and there were even fewer experts who could fight against the Immortal Court. If the Fire Holy Devil came and helped the people of the True Devil Realm, then, not to mention that the people of the True Devil Realm could fight against the Immortal Realm, they would at least not be afraid of the Immortal Court. "That Senior, where is he now?" Sect leader asked. "I've already arranged for it to cultivate in a cultivation ground. It said that it doesn't like lively places." Su Yin replied. "So it's like that." The sect master seemed to be in deep thought. Xian nodded her head. "That's true. Senior has just fought a battle and has consumed quite a bit of energy. Let rest first. Demon Lord, let's talk about the current development of the true devil realm. Now that the true devil realm has been destroyed, it is practically a wasteland. If we still use this world as a benchmark to develop the devil cultivator, I'm afraid it will be quite difficult. You want us to develop other interfaces? I don't know. Actually, I'm not good at this. Su Yin shook his head. If we were to develop other realms, the difficulty would only increase and not decrease. Although the true devil realm was destroyed by the battle between the Vice President and the Saint Devil Senior, you must know that the true devil realm is filled with a large amount of devil chi at all times. As long as the devil chi is still there, it is the true devil realm, and the true devil realm can also start to develop from a wasteland. Has the sect leader decided? Octagon Aniseed has already sent news that the great demons are ready and can return at any time. All right then. Su Yin nodded his head. Since that's the case, then sect leader, you can go and make the arrangements. Although the true devil realm has been destroyed, it is still connected to the underworld. Right now, we still need to communicate with Lord Imperial Sword. If there are no problems on his side, then the Underworld Demon Alliance will definitely be formed. Yes. The sect leader nodded. Su Yin cupped his fists and planned to leave. Although he had only exchanged a few blows with the vice president, he had consumed a lot of energy, not to mention that he had just watched a peerless battle that he had never seen before in his life. If he did not digest it in time and meditate, wouldn't it be a waste? The sect leader also knew what Su Yin meant, so he did not stop him and allowed him to leave. After bidding farewell to the sect leader, Su Yin left the Devil Cultivator tribe. He found an empty place and sat down. The true devil realm had already been destroyed, and the underworld had also suffered a lot of losses. The entrances and exits of the underworld had all been corroded by the flames of the holy devil fire, to the point that the people guarding the nether gate were all people with extremely high cultivations. Su Yin closed his eyes to rest, quietly entering a meditative state, but in his mind, it was as if an earth-shattering storm had swept up, and he could not calm down for even a moment. He started to think back to the fight between the Vice President and the Holy Fire Demon, and the fight with the Imperial Underworld Sword, and the way the three peerless Supreme Experts fought. He thought back to their every movement, every detail, every bit of chi they used, and every spell they chanted. He saw it clearly and remembered it seriously. He even wanted to use the great exquisite technique to peek into the thoughts of these supreme existences. However, he knew that it would be futile. The difference in cultivation was too great. He couldn't peek at them at all. Every spell seemed to contain the philosophy of the universe, the cycle of the human path, and not only did they represent destruction, they also represented new life, hope, destruction, and redemption. At their level, all of the spells were no longer just for self-protection. Their methods had already begun to evolve into tools that would help them continue to advance and explore. Su Yin savored it carefully. His brows were sometimes tightly knitted, sometimes relaxed, sometimes locked, and sometimes bent. His eyelids were also shaking, as if he had thought of some kind of bottleneck. But after a moment, he heaved a sigh of relief. Ling Qingyu flew out from the sword sheath again. Seeing Su Yin sitting there attentively, the corner of her mouth raised into an extremely obscure smile. She gently walked in, closed her eyes, and used her chin to gently touch Su Yin's forehead. Then, she took a few steps back and flew into the sword sheath. After an unknown period of time, a mysterious yellow light shot out from Su Yin's body. Like a meteor shooting into the sky, it scattered the clouds and lit up the dark sky and earth of the underworld. The yellow light lasted for the time it took for an incense stick to burn before gradually dissipating. However, the moment it appeared, everyone in the underworld looked towards the yellow light. The profound yellow soars into the sky. The spirit bone is formed. The star position is reversed. The universe is reversed. There's a profound spirit god supreme expert breaking through. A general of the underworld cried out involuntarily. He was right. This was the phenomenon of Su Yin's cultivation breaking through. The current him had already stepped into the seventh stage of the spirit profound god realm, and the current him had an extremely large increase in lifespan to the point of not aging for 10,000 years. What realm was the peak of the spirit profound God? Suyin did not know that even if he used the Devil Saint's Devil Soul to raise his cultivation to the peak of the spirit profound God realm, it would still only be his cultivation and not truly reach that realm. However, the seventh stage of the spirit profound God realm gave him the feeling that he had stepped into a new world. He slowly opened his eyes, only to see that his eyes were suffused with a golden light. It was especially charming, like the eyes of a god. It made people feel like they were prostrating themselves in worship. He stood up and stretched his body. He discovered that every movement he made seemed to affect everything in the world. With a wave of his arm, a cool breeze immediately blew in the direction of his arm. The cool breeze moved the rocks struck the rocks shook the earth, and the power seemed to be increasing bit by bit, causing people to exclaim in admiration. Is this the seventh stage of the spirit profound God realm? Suyin exclaimed. Yes, the current you is already a part of nature. The current you, strictly speaking, can no longer be considered a human. Just then, Ling Qing, you suddenly said. Not considered a human. Hearing that, Suyin was shocked. Doesn't that mean cultivating to the extreme? When you cultivate to the extreme, you will understand what is called nature and what is called the true Lord of all things. Ling Qing, you continued Suyun's words. Suyun was silent. He did not really understand Ling Qing-yu's words, but Ling Qing-yu's words had enlightened him a little, allowing him to avoid taking a lot of detours after breaking through. If it was according to this, then everything could be explained, but why was Qing-yu? Suyun, although I'm not you, I can already guess the questions you have about me. Just as Suyun's heart was filled with doubts, Ling Qing-yu spoke out again, but this sentence was unexpected to Suyun. Qing-yu, what are you talking about? Suyun looked at the sword sheath and asked carefully. You should know what I'm talking about. Just then, the sword sheath released a ray of light. Following that, the slender and elegant Ling Qing-yu appeared in front of Suyun. She was still dressed in her white robes, but her absolute beauty would always cause people to fall for her, unable to extricate themselves from her. Suyun retracted his gaze and said softly, I don't know. It's just that you don't want the relationship between us to become too awkward. Ling Qing-yu sighed slightly. Her cherry lips parted slightly and said indifferently, Actually, you have long suspected my true identity, right? You have long felt that what I said to you in the past was just perfunctory. I am not some female sword immortal. If not, I would not have avoided meeting the sword ancestor. And furthermore, I would not have known so many things with my cultivation and experience. Everything would not have been like this. Suyun, you are not a fool. You have actually seen through it very thoroughly. It is just that you care too much about me. So you deliberately did not say it, right? She stared at Suyun, her eyes shining brightly. Her clear eyes were like the most dazzling gems in the world. Hearing that, Suyun's heart suddenly jumped. For some reason, it was obvious that the other party had lied to him, but he still felt extremely nervous. Suyun was not an idiot. He could tell what a white lie was. Even if Ling Qing had lied to him, from start to finish, she had never let him down. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.